welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus, on the forum.
And this is Parker. Go by Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD, on the forums.
Capital MD.
Capital MD. You got the AIDS, Brandon. I just found out.
Oh, damn it. All right. So, quick announcements. This marks 234 more probationary episodes for Parker.
I'm counting them down.
And one for Jeremy.
Oh, that's
he missed
right.
Today. So
that's right.
That's one negative cookie.
He's got to work out of the hole now. Now
Mm-hmm.
he'll know how it feels.
Yeah. How quickly this gets out of hand.
Yeah. I thought it was going to start small too. It's a gateway drug. It really is what it is.
Yeah. All right, Parker, what do we got? Do you have anything we should talk about today?
OMG, do I have news? News. Now here's the thing about news. All those newses you just heard, those are the number of newses we have. There are so many newses. So we'll get started with the one that I'm going to editorialize already in my news, which is the one I do not care about, but we know it's news, which is our Miss Marvel stat card. Another 3-point character that can transform, maybe better than Wasp and Ant-Man. You guys be the judge, or rather, I guess Brandon can be the judge.
That was a legitimate yawn. It had nothing to do with Miss Marvel, even though you might think it did.
Okay, so Miss Marvel is a 3-point. She's a 3-point character who can be either a size 2 or a size 4, depending upon if she is normal or embiggened. She has 3 physical defense, 4 energy defense, and 3 mystic defense. She has 5 health on both sides, and again, she costs 3. On her normal side, she only has 1 attack, the Morpho Punch. It is a range 4 dice. She only gains 1 power for doing so. It does have push on a wild if the target character is size 2 or less. One of her powers is to embiggen, so for 3 power, she can switch over to her embiggen side, which gives her 4 size, and we'll talk about some other things it gives her in a second. She also has an ability called Take Out the Trash. Choose an interactive terrain feature or enemy character, both size 2 or less, within 3, and throw it short. This superpower can only be used once. And then she is an Inhuman, even though she's usually associated with the Avengers or the Young Avengers. She's actually an Inhuman, so she does get to reroll 1 dice on all attack or defense rolls. She's immune to poison like all other Inhumans as well. And then on her embiggen side, she has her second attack, which is also not a spender. It is range 3, 5 dice for 0. After this attack is resolved, she gains power equal damage. And then again, on that side, she is an Inhuman, and she has a new ability, a passive called Morphogenetics. When making attacks, if the target character is smaller than this character, and she is size 4, this character may reroll 2 of its attack dice. Additionally, at the end of this character's activation, it immediately transforms back into normal Miss Marvel. She also has Polymorph. This character may interact with objective tokens within range 2 of it instead of the normal range 1, which is very identical to Toad's ability, only she only can do that if she's embiggened.
Nearly as identical as this one.
Yeah, nearly as identical. The technical term for it.
All right, so what I learned from reading this model's card is I am equally as disinterested as I was before after reading it. But her... it's better than, like, first glance, for sure, because the 5 dice attack seems like not great, but then when you consider the fact that she's going to get potentially 3 rerolls on the attack, it's actually a very solid attack.
Right.
But having to pay 3 power just to get to do it is also not great.
It's kind of interesting. Like, the one way to look at it is she does actually have a spender attack that costs 3 power and gives you a bunch of other stuff. Like, that's kind of what it is, right? Because she'll embiggen at some point during her activation, then get the ability to do maybe 2 high fives, right? Because they cost free. So it's almost like she could, for 3 power, get 2 fantastic reroll attacks, because you get to reroll 1 dice all the time with Inhumans and Morphogenetics. And then she'll go back to the small size. So it's kind of interesting. So... like you said, at first glance, it looks poor, but then when you realize the actual math, she pays 3 and does 2 5 dice attacks at range 3 that have 3 real rolls each. That's not nothing.
The big part that people are going to want to play her for is she's deceptively mobile, because
Right.
even with just doing the transform, that's almost the equivalent of a small move, because it goes from a small base to a medium base plus a range 1.
Mhm.
It's almost a small move for the transform. And then you get 2 range 3 attacks, and then she transforms again, which is the reverse movement, so she can kind of walk herself around while still doing double attacks.
Speaking of that, do you mind if we slide over to her something that helps her exactly with that, her tactics card?
I do mind.
Okay, well then, I'll wait patiently.
Okay.
So she has a card called A Better Tomorrow with her good buddy Miles Morales, which she actually is a good buddy in the comics. A Better Tomorrow is if Miles Morales is within range 2 of Ms. Marvel, both characters may spend 2. Ms. Marvel immediately transforms into embiggened Ms. Marvel, and then instead of being placed within range 1, she can be placed within range 3. Then place Miles Morales within range 1 of Ms. Marvel. So for 2 power each, both characters cover a lot of ground if you really want them both to move a lot.
This seems like one of those cards that's really cool and thematic, but is never going to get played.
Right.
Like, does Miles need mobility? Is that really what Miles needed? Yeah, exactly. And she doesn't need mobility either, so like this is just worthless.
Why would you want both? Yeah, why would you want both of
like
them to
the
fly?
cinematic of like Miles webbing up Miss Marvel and like slingshotting her into battle, and then like she grows and then he gets snapped forward because of the mass difference. Like, and so that's kind of cool, but like, yeah, who cares? Like, both of these characters are already mobile,
right? And both of them have range 3 attacks, so even they are mobile and also have reach. So
yeah. Maybe if there was 2 categories of tactics cards, like there was like for real tactics cards that you need to play to be good at the game, and then there was like the funsy tactics cards where like you could take like fluffy cards, like then this would be awesome. But you can't tell me this card is better than one of the 50 cards that gets played.
Right. Speaking of another fluffy card, I love the fluff of this card, which is Fan Club. Ms. Marvel is like the biggest fangirl while she's being a superhero. So she has a card called Fan Club. When allied Captain Marvel, that's Carol Danvers, uses the Danvers special, the binary form, or the rocket punch, after you do that effect or attack, Ms. Marvel then can spend 3 power to play this card. And each one of those things that Captain Marvel did triggers something for Ms. Marvel. So if Carol uses Danvers special, then Ms. Marvel can immediately throw an interactive terrain feature or enemy character of size 3 within 2 short. So she creates a throw if Carol does a throw. If Captain Marvel uses binary form, then Ms. Marvel can immediately also transform within Biggin and push all enemy characters within range 2 of herself away short. And then finally, if Captain Marvel uses the Rocket Punch, Ms. Marvel may immediately advance medium towards the character that was hit by the Rocket Punch. Again, like, cool, but when do you need all these things, I guess?
Yeah, it is cool that I like these flexible cards, but this one specifically doesn't seem super. Actually, take that back. This could have like situational brilliance,
right?
If you have like specific situations in mind and you're trying to take advantage of them, it works fine. Like specifically the binary form and the embiggen thing, that's useful,
right?
Because it's going to manipulate the board, and you're going to get into your big form early. There's uses to that. Also, not to mention, it's out of turn movement, which is cool.
Yeah, it's out of turn movement, a push out of turn, and it costs 3, which is the same she was going to spend anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, you're not losing anything.
We're down to just costing the tactic slot instead of also costing power.
Right. Yeah, the first and second option seem excellent in certain situations. The advanced medium, I'm not sure what you would use that for, but.
Yeah, you would just do obviously if you're doing what Carol's doing, so you don't get a free choice. But yeah, you would choose the embiggen because that's already a maneuver, and you're getting the other effects. I would think anyway.
Also,
I do want to say though, real quick, they said on their stream today that the developers finally pulled their heads out of their asses and started doing bullet points. And so cards like this moving forward will have bullet points instead of just being a list, which is very hard to like. Where does this ability end and where does the next one start?
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
You're right.
So that's going to be good coming forward, but they should have done it for several of these. Go ahead.
Deadpool was the first one that had like an interaction with every character, I think, right? Like you had 5 different.
Yoink, Yoink was like the first big one,
right? So I also like how Danvers' special is a throw, and then Ms. Marvel also does a throw. So combo throwing one person, if you're just like, I need this thing to take 3 damage, it's pretty cool. And the binary form is something Captain Marvel does so much that having imagining a world where Captain Marvel, binary forms and Ms. Marvel can make use of embiggening is totally plausible. I can count on like maybe a finger how many times I've seen, even in any game, Carol ever use a rocket punch. She almost never does, but it's possible, I suppose.
It's usually, if you play Captain Marvel, it happens, but yeah, not a lot. It's usually when someone has closed range to try and deal with her, and she's like, "All right, get screwed," and she just like ninjas you into oblivion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually because someone is standing on top of you, punching you in the face.
Yeah, I am. I am actually. I think she's a really cool character concept. I'm not super excited about her, but I do like the idea of a character that doesn't have a spender and yet is like kind of like the fact that she manipulates her body is a spender and it becomes more efficient because of what she does. I think it's interesting.
In a conceptual point, it's actually very similar to Captain Marvel's kit, where it's a fairly static, wanting to double attack character that has an empowerment.
Right.
And so it's turn on your empowerment, do your 2 quality attacks, end your turn. Like, that's the concept of the character. So they have the exact same like blueprint to how to play them, but they go about it very differently.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So if you like Captain Marvel for that, but you wanted her maybe to be more mobile because Captain Marvel's much more of a turret. Yeah,
kind of similar to Miles actually, because Miles also has his empowerment effect, which just conveniently also places him like Miss Marvel.
Right.
And then he does his 2 attacks, and then he's done.
Right.
Although Miles ends up moving as a second action fairly often, as where the other 2 characters really don't.
Right. So can we get to my boy? We got him.
Your chubby boy.
Oh, he's so thick. My thick boy.
I like the thickness.
The thickness is so thick. Okay, so first of all, before I do anything else, I will say that our podcast actually called a lot of this, I think, spot on. We called a lot of Hulkbuster Stark really spot on. So I don't know how revolutionary our ideas were. They all seemed pretty obvious to us at the time, but I really like how much I was not surprised by this. But there were a few surprises. Let's talk about Hulkbuster. Iron Man.
Hold on real quick.
Oh.
Hold on. I want to say that the stuff that we predicted was fairly obvious.
Right.
So we're basically amazing. That's what I wanted to say.
We predicted 6 points. We predicted that he's probably going to pop out and be small size. But there were some things that surprised me, but yeah, here we go.
There are several parts that surprised me.
Yeah. So first off, let's talk about big Hulkbuster, Tony Stark. So this is him with all the big suit on. So with his big suit on, he has 13 health. He is size 4. He's a large base, movement medium, and he's 6 points. That right there sounds awesome. First off, he's a movement medium, large base. He's the first, right? Thanos is right.
No, Thanos isn't large.
Oh.
Come on, you've played this character a bunch.
Large based movement medium?
You're embarrassing yourself.
Who could...
If only there was somebody who's known for being fast.
Ghost Rider. Yes, Ghost Rider.
Oh, we got it.
Ghost Rider.
Right.
Ghost Rider.
Okay.
It's weird that I don't even think of him like that because he usually moves twice at the beginning of the game, and that's the only time he moves unless he does his power. But yes, he's also moving medium. But I love it. Much more mobile than I imagined, but of course he's got rocket boots. So he's defense 4 physical, 3 energy defense, 3 mystical defense. He has, for a primary attack, a 6 dice, range 3, 0 cost, energy, heavy repulsor blast. After this attack is resolved, the character gains power equal to the damage dealt. After this attack is resolved, if it did not deal damage, he always gains 1 power. And lastly, after this attack is resolved, push the target character away short.
Yeah.
It has the Shuri effect.
Yeah, this is great. It's not the Shuri effect because the Shuri effect is cost 3 points.
Right. But that's... Yeah, I was going to get there later. But yes, it has the Shuri effect on it.
So obviously the auto push is cool. The fact that it's not a May is not great because you run into the Black Panther problem of, well, I'm going to push you out of my attack range. But I don't think that's going to be necessarily a big issue for this guy because he's got other abilities.
Right.
But yeah, I love the minimum 1 power on attacking. That's great.
That's
I
super
really
cool.
hope they duplicate this on other characters.
Yeah.
I also
awesome.
was surprised they didn't just change the wording to minimum 1 at the end of the builder part, but I think that line of text they just want to copy paste, that way it's always the same and people get comfortable with it. Because if they start changing it, then you have to read it specifically on every card.
Yeah.
So I understand making it a separate ability.
And you can get tricked. Yeah.
Yeah.
His second attack is a physical spender, Meteor Punch, which is range 3, 3 power, gets 8 dice. The target character does not gain power for damage dealt by this attack. If this attack deals damage and the target character is size 4 or less, after the attack is resolved, the target character may be thrown away medium. It also has explosive on a wild, so before damage is dealt, other characters within range 2 of that target character suffer 1 damage. What a fantastic spender. It's just got a lot of bread and butter, right? It's just got...
Yeah, it's just quality.
It's just super quality. 8 dice is a great range for 3 power. Speaking of range, it has a great range. The character is not going to get power for it, so you're not going to overload them by hitting them really hard. And the fact that you get nearly automatic, you have to be size 4 or less, but nearly automatic throw on almost every character in the game, and then explosive on top of that. It's just like all the things you want in an attack. It's great.
Yeah, it's very solid. Yeah, great physical attack.
So,
I like the auto throw if you deal damage. I think we're getting to the point where we're moving away from the wilds throw thing, and it's getting tied more often or not to dealing damage than to rolling a wild, because it's just too random.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fact that I was blown away by this next one. You want to talk about what surprised us? I did not see that he was going to be a leader for the Avengers. So the Avengers get the first faction that has 3 leaderships in it now, the Hulkbuster leadership. When an allied character would suffer damage from a collision, reduce the amount suffered by 1. And then there's some text in there that looks a little confusing at first, but it says, if your squad is using the Hulkbuster leadership ability, when this character is put into play, you are still using this leadership ability. Basically, what this is referring to is the fact that this is the first leader character that you remove the model from the board and can put it back on. We'll talk about how it does that later. Yeah. But they just wanted to clarify that since you're moving the model off the board and moving it back on, you're not losing the leadership. You always have the leadership as long as Tony Stark's around.
I mean, I guess you can call me a dick, but I have zero sympathy for the people that couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
It's so obvious, so that's what they're talking about.
Right.
And I can understand a little bit of confusion if you read this first and didn't get to the later parts.
Yes.
But, it's literally because he transforms.
Yes.
And we knew in advance he was going to be a transforming model because he has 2 different models.
Yeah.
And so we knew he was going to transform, and this is just clarity for the transforming.
Yeah.
I want to say something that I misread about this at first. It wasn't really misread, I just didn't read it. When I read Hulkbuster's affiliation, I stopped reading and I just went down to the ability. I didn't even know he was an Avengers leader for 3 minutes.
What?
And I was like, oh man, power armor team, here we go.
That's
They're going to
awesome.
be immune to throws. And I just assumed it was going to be a power armor team.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even read Avengers until I finished the kit and I read it again. And I was like, oh, it's Avengers.
Uh-huh.
Well, that sucks. I hate Avengers. But yeah, I was very surprised he's an Avengers leader.
Uh-huh.
But I like that it gives them the flexibility, because it's very likely you can put Hulkbuster in a list with one of the other Captain Americas, and you'll have 3 potential leaders, if not at least 2, in an Avengers list, and you can maybe decide at deployment. It's like, oh, well, I'm playing against Asgard, so yeah, I'm going to take the damage reduction on throws. And it ends up mattering. Or, oh, I'm playing against Brotherhood. Yeah, how about... And especially if you're matched up against a Brotherhood player and you don't know if they're going to play Magneto or not, that's a huge ability to be able to stick Hulkbuster and Cap down. And oh, you didn't play Magneto, I guess I'm not using the Hulkbuster leadership.
Right.
And it's a massive difference. So I like that a lot.
Also, Hulkbuster, I think, is just fine in a Captain Sam list, because a large base, being able to move, giving him a little extra power, I think he does just fine in that list also, even though normally you might want to add an extra model. You might have 2 models instead of a 6 cost. Having 1 6 cost doesn't break the list because the others are so efficient. Another thing that I loved it as soon as I read it is I went, oh my god, there are so many Avengers now that have damage reduction. And so your Luke Cages and your War Machines are now taking a lot less damage. They're taking -2 to throws because of how it resolves. Brandon and I were having a conversation with this. before the cast going, as far as we know right now, because they're resolving at the same time, and it doesn't say minimum 1 on the Hulkbuster rule, somebody who already has damage reduction could basically use that first to lower it down by 1, and then the Hulkbuster affiliation and lower it down to 0. So if somebody basically has to do 3 to you in order to take damage from a collision, which is just awesome.
It basically means you have to blank out on your average throw to actually take damage.
Right.
Yeah, it's nice.
Since a lot of the damage reduction characters also have 3 to 4, usually 4 physical defense, it's difficult to do that. So it's if the reason why I love this card, love this ability, is the first time I read it, I was like, okay, well, that's kind of a niche ability. Like you said, sometimes it's going to pay huge dividends and some not. But then I went, wait a minute. If I like playing Brace for Impact, this is just Brace for Impact if I play some other good Avengers models a lot of the time, because so many Avengers have great physical defense. Also, I was actually thinking about specifically folks like Black Panther and Captain America, which traditionally the way that you deal with those characters is to throw things at them because they don't get all their awesome benefits. But now you're going to take that advantage away, even though it's just a chip. It's not all the way off. Yes, it's great for Luke Cage and War Machine, but it's also going to benefit all the folks who do that too.
Maybe we should finish reading the card before we start talking strategy.
Okay. So, his next power, Hit and Run, costs 2. It's an action. This character immediately makes
it's just hit and run. We know what hit and run does.
Oh, we do? Okay. Everyone knows what hit and run does.
Yeah, it's on like 5 cards.
Great. So he sticks and moves. Now I'm mad, which is a famous line from the movie. Range 3. Cost 3 power. Choose an interactive terrain feature size 4 or less within range 2 and throw it medium. So only interactive terrain, but he can throw big terrain. Built to Take It is 1 power. When this character is targeted by an attack, it may use the superpower, reduce the amount of damage suffered by 1. So it's very similar to Kingpin's. In addition, this character cannot be pushed as a result of special rules during this attack.
I really like this part. This is a great way to handle damage reduction because the passive damage reduction is really strong in a lot of situations. And the reduce by 1 for 1 is amazing because you only have to pay for it when it matters. This is a great in-between, where it's like, we don't want to give him damage reduction innately because it'll be too strong, and we don't want to give him the ability to reduce damage to 0 every time, because that's also really strong. So just making them decide beforehand, I think, is the fair way to split the difference. Because if he just had passive damage reduction or the Unnerved to Pain, he'd probably only have 10 hit points. Right. And so because of that, it gives him a lot more freedom when designing the stat line, I think.
Yeah. A little caveat about that. Throws are not at the target of an attack, so he cannot do the double dipping that somebody like War Machine or Luke Cage can do. But I also love that he has that has that secondary effect of cannot be pushed as a result, because he finally has a rule that you and I and Jeremy have talked about a lot on this podcast of when are we going to get somebody who just stops you from getting pushed around, and he's one of the first characters to do that.
This is just a worse version of like the force projection on Magneto, but it's I like that it's affecting the total amount of damage he can take just as a flat number, and because the adding defense dice is nice, but we know defense dice are hugely inconsistent. I would much rather have just like -1 damage on Magneto for 1 power. Like that would be so much better for me, in my opinion, personally. It would be better for all parties because you wouldn't go into he might get 5 blocks or he might get 1, and it's just so much easier to just like take the dice out of it and let's just like adjust the numbers a little bit. Also, I think a lot of people might have noticed it only stops pushes, not throws. Yes. But since he's size 4, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to throw him, which is a little bit of insurance.
So, speaking of size 4, how does he, pop out to become a smaller size? That's the very last rule. Enhanced support system. So if this character would flip its stat card to its injured side, instead place Iron Man Hulkbuster within range 2 of this one. Then remove this big Hulkbuster from the battlefield. Iron Man has no damage, power, special conditions, or effects, and is now immediately part of your squad. Additionally, during the power phase, Hulkbuster Iron Man, the big suit, gains 1 additional power.
So this basically means he's going to have 4 power a turn as pretty much a minimum for most of the game. Because he's got a range 3 blaster that always gives him at least one, and then he can hit and run, so he's gonna be able to stay within range of those people as he's pushing them away.
Right.
So he's kind of gonna like bully his way around the table.
Mm-hmm. I like,
but I was just gonna say it's weird to have like a bruiser type character also be good at board control, because this guy to me it feels a lot like a mix between Cole Obsidian and Black Panther so far, if that makes sense. Feels like a little bit of a mix of that.
Well, I love this fact that he does it at range 3. So he doesn't, unlike Cole Obsidian and Black Panther, which both have to get into range 2, which means a lot of the most dangerous damage dealers in the game do it at range 2. It's with that high risk, high reward kind of playstyle. The fact that Hulkbuster can keep them at just barely arm's reach while he's doing it is super cool. I really, really like that aspect of him. But yes, when I read his card, I also thought board controller, not really bruisers per se.
I think he's still kind of a bruiser because he takes damage, he hits reasonably hard,
right?
And he wants to get up in the middle of the fight. But yeah, he's not like exploding people necessarily.
Right. Until I think the little version, when Iron Man pops out, he definitely becomes much more of a board controller piece. Smaller Iron Man, so which is not really his backside, but you can think about it functionally like his backside. The way it works is this: he has 5 health, movement medium, size 2, technically still 6 power, but again, you don't pay for him. You put the big Hulkbuster down on the table. He has 2 physical defense, 2 energy defense, and 3 mystic defense. His only attack is an energy called Rapid Repulsor Blast, range 4, 4 dice. It costs 0. After this attack is resolved, he immediately gains 1 power. After this attack is resolved, push the target character away short, so it continues to repulse. And then on a wild, you get Rapid Fire, which is another attack immediately on that character, which, of course, you would have to, still be in range 4, but you would get to shoot him again if they're still in range 4 after you do it.
But it's actually pretty nice because did you talk about his defensive stats already?
Yes, 2, 2, 3. Yep.
Okay. First of all, I don't like the 2-2-3 stat line. I know they're trying to say that this is more of like a recon suit or like it's the Black Carapace is the thing the Space Marines wear under their power armor.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a way for his body to connect to the larger suit. It's like a pair of socks, right?
Right.
These aren't the work boots, these are the socks.
Right.
But like a regular person has 3 physical defenses. My problem.
Yeah.
Like why? Like you can't tell me that someone like, I don't know, Wong has like 3 energy defense and like he has 2. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
Punisher has 3 physical defense. And I get that he could be wearing a flak jacket, but he's not. He's wearing a fucking t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Iron Man is still encased entirely in metal.
It's still encased in titanium alloy. Yeah. Like, come on. Anyway, that annoyed me. But I do really like this attack. If there was just a 3-point Iron Man that had that attack, I'd probably play Iron Man. That's a very good attack.
Right.
All right, continue.
So he still has the Hulkbuster affiliation rule, so his case stays the same. And again, the reason why it has a second paragraph is because if he is Iron Man Hulkbuster, he still gets to use it. He also has a power called Always Have a Backup. It costs 10. So he is full up on power. You immediately place a Hulkbuster character within range 1 of this one. It has no damage, power, special conditions, or effects. Hulkbuster gains an activated token immediately. It is now part of your squad. Remove this character from the game.
This is really cool. This was the surprising part. I was not surprised by anything else on the card but this.
Right.
When I read this, I was like, oh shit. This is like not a joke.
Yep.
So immediately everybody obviously starts digging through how to make this happen. Obviously it's play Steve Rogers, so it only costs 9, right?
Whoa.
News 11.
Yeah.
No, but I've been talking with some people at the shop, and we think that this means that Hulkbuster will get played with Avengers a reasonable amount of time, but we think this is going to give Inhumans a place on the map.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, obviously the leadership ability for Inhumans, being able to just dump power on him one turn when he needs it. He also synergizes a decent amount with some of their characters because he gives you a little bit of that board manipulation. He gives you not a cheap backliner, but a backliner. And at that point, it's assuming that you've already gotten your work in.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part is Lockjaw synergizes very well with Iron Man here because he can get him out of range. He can kind of protect him by throwing people near him away if he can't get the repulsor blast to get him out of there. and he has that last minute save possible tactics card to keep his injured side alive when he would otherwise die, because that lets you get maximum power from taking damage. Because if you have the miracle turn, right, so you get your normal power up, you shoot 4 times with the double rapid fire, which is 2 wilds on 4 dice on 2 separate attacks, which is not hugely likely but not impossible. It's basically like winning 2 or 3 coin flips in a row. And so it happens. So you get 5 power from that, and then he takes 4 power from taking damage, and then you last minute save him away. And now he's set for the next time he activates, he gets to flip over. Honestly, you don't even really need the rapid fires, because if you just do the 2 automatic ones, power up twice, 2 automatic ones again, take 4 damage, you're already at 11.
Yeah. If you don't want to spend the tactics card or play Inhumans, another way that I considered, because all rapid fire characters get a huge amount of work out of Red Skull's leadership and Cabal. So if your rapid fires go off in one turn, you get 8 power. You have to get them, but you can.
That's never gonna work.
I'm just telling you.
It's a 4 dice attack.
So let's say it happens 3 times in the turn, or let's say he does three of the attacks he does damage. That's still 6 power. I'm just saying it's another way to get
so what
extra
I'm thinking with Inhumans though. So Inhumans, let's say you lose priority, right? Your opponent goes first. They attack Iron Man. You use last minute save, so he takes 4 damage, gets 4 power plus the power up puts him to 5. And then you can have potentially up to 2 or 3 other Inhumans dump power on him, and then he gets there automatically.
Right.
With Inhumans, you can actually do it in one turn.
Right. If
they attack him and you get last minute save to work.
Right. And if you don't attack him, he just has time to push people around. So So what?
And then you get an extra time to do it.
Right.
No, so let's go ahead and finish out reading his kit before we get too much into the theory.
Yep. A new plan is another one of his powers, cost 2. After an attacking character targets this character, if this character was damaged, he immediately can advance medium, which is another one of those kind of last-minute save things. But
you basically slippery on Toad.
Right, but again, you're spending power that he doesn't get to go up to that 10, so you have to decide.
Well, if you're about to die, then it's worth spending it, I think.
Yes.
But think about last-minute saves stacked on top of this.
Right.
Because last minute save, you're getting drugged, I think it's short, and then you get to move medium past that. You're out of danger.
No. Last minute save, you just teleport next to Lockjaw.
So it's like range 3?
It's range 3. Within range 3, you get placed within range 1 of Lockjaw.
I'm going to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you can look it up, but I'm right. Because I know this.
No, I think you are correct.
Yeah.
I'm just going to confirm the distances. Yeah, it's if an ally within 3 of Lockjaw... place it within 1 of Lockjaw, yeah. So you can jump over a medium base, probably about the equivalent of range 4, a little bit more than range 4, and then advance medium on top of that.
Yeah. The very last rule is a passive that basically, discusses how he doesn't have an injured side. When this character would be dazed or he is KO'd instead, this character cannot be included in rosters. It's never deployed at the start of the game and can be put into play only as a result of enhanced support systems. Sinister can't get 12 tokens and summon him, I guess. I'm just trying to think of a way to bring him into the game.
No, I thought about the Sinister thing, but that's why his point cost is 6.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to point out, they kind of snuck this into that little passive ability you talked about. When he would be dazed, it is KO'd instead, period. Not when you would flip the card, which is when all the other things, even the other side of this guy, say to do it. Which means you can never field dressing this guy.
Yes.
The little Iron Man cannot be field dressing, so you can't just sit him there and have 10 power sitting on him. Like, oh, well, eventually I'll play field dressing and he'll flip over. Like, no, when he gets to 5 damage, he's dead.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes.
So that's why I think last minute save is such a big deal.
Yeah.
However, you can field dressing Hulkbuster.
Yes, because he has a dazed token. Yes, because it says when it would be flipped over to injured side, you turn him in. So
correct.
So yes, he absolutely can be field dressing.
So the only difference between this effect and transform really is that you completely swipe the card clean. You don't keep power, damage, or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about Hulkbuster on the whole?
I think he's a really fair, like you said before, bruiser control hybrid. I like how he feels like a control character that isn't swatted away. you think about control characters, you think about folks like Loki and Spider-Man that have some deterrence, like some things that make it difficult to kill them. But if they get connected, they're just, they just fall over. The Hulkbuster feels different. He feels like, you will connect with me, but I'm not going down. I'm going to keep moving you around and making it difficult for you to leverage your full battle plan, constantly manipulating you. I love that because also thematically, the Hulkbuster was designed to fight the Hulk, right? You can't just go fist fight the Hulk. He wins that fight. So, Iron Man thinks about, okay, now how would I deal with the Hulk? Well, I would just keep him at arm's length, saying, stay over there. I'm going to eventually grind you down. You can't win if you can't get close to me. So this Hulkbuster armor kind of has the same game plan on the table. I really, really like it. It's the first 6-point character that I am going to play a lot. I've not been excited. I've not been excited about a single 6-point character in this game to play a lot, but I really, really, really want to play this character a lot. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think Hulkbuster does feel good on the whole. Sorry, I'm just gonna squeeze that in one more time. I do really like the way that he is designed. And low bar here, but it feels like in a 1v1 battle, the Hulkbuster would beat Hulk. But like, again, low bar.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it would be an interesting fight because they do similar-ish things. Like, they're both very beefy. They hit reasonably hard. Not crazy, but reasonably hard. They're both kind of deceptively mobile, and they get a lot of power. But yeah, I think it would be a fun fight. Like, I think if you did, both people took Hulk and Hulkbuster and you just kind of ran into the middle and had a mosh pit, I think it would be a good time. And so that's why I'm really excited about Hulkbuster.
Another thing about Hulkbuster, actually, I wanted your opinion about this, Brandon. He is another character, yet again, who gains an additional power. Do you think he loses something for that? Because I feel like this is one of the characters, we talked about Valkyrie being one of the characters that gets 2 power and doesn't seem to pay for it. I feel like he's getting the same kind of thing, or I think am I wrong?
The minimum 1 power on his heavy repulsor blast is makes up for it.
Yeah,
from what I've seen here, because if you look at his stuff, like a 3 cost spender is not a lot, especially when you're talking about an 8 dice spender that's not range 2. That's very quality. Hit and run's never really been overpriced.
No.
Now I'm Mad is reasonable. It's the exact same power that's on Thor. Admittedly, Thor has 2 power a turn generation, but he doesn't have a ranged attack that gives him power. So I would say this is actually kind of undercosted.
Yeah.
And we know that damage reduction is worth 1 power. So I think this is fair. I don't see anything on this card that's overcosted. I feel like the 1 additional power turn was kind of a throw-in. Kind of like on She-Hulk, although She-Hulk has some expensive spenders. Like, this is the first time I've looked at a card that gets more than 1 power and said, like, I don't really see why other than they just wanted to.
Yeah.
This was, like, the first time it was in addition to the kit and not in spite of the kit.
Yeah. It's a perhaps Valkyrie, right? But I think, like, Valkyrie was just early in development. They weren't sure exactly what 1 power was supposed to do. Would you say that?
I think her stuff is expensive, but really? Valkyrie is just that good. The problem with Valkyrie is they didn't increase the cost of her throw.
Right.
A 2 cost for a size 2 throw is very reasonable, but not on someone who gets 2 power a turn.
Right.
And Asgardian should not have a 2-for-2 throw.
Right.
And so that was kind of the miss point. Like, if she couldn't guarantee double move throw, different conversation.
The nice thing about Hulkbuster, though, that I do appreciate is that, yes, he's getting 2 power a turn, but this may be, I don't know if it's, maybe we'll find out he's super strong with 2 power a turn, but I feel like it's grease that doesn't just completely slip, off the rails. Talking about somebody like a Doctor Strange, where I will place myself or any other character within range 3 right now. Like, well, crap. Like, if that didn't cost a lot,
he doesn't really have anything
that's
crazy to use the power on.
Right. Yeah. He's doing things that other characters already do, and and it's very satisfactory. It's. I really like him. I like him a lot. I am very, very, very excited to play a 6-point character for the first time. Man.
Okay. All right. I think we're finally ready to move on.
Okay.
Oh, real quick. I am happy that we finally got an Inhuman that makes the faction worth playing.
That's true. We got 2 Inhumans, kind of, right? We got
we got 1.
Right, we got Ms. Marvel, and we got
1 Avenger, and we got 1 Inhuman.
That's
Can
right.
you guess which is which?
All right. So our Tony Stark themed card that's going to come in it, at least one of them we know of, is called the Helios Laser Bombardment, which I love the flavor of this card so much. This is what it does. It's an energy range 5 2 dice attack for 0 during Tony Stark's activation. So any Tony Stark. Any number of allied characters can spend power to play this card. Tony Stark can then use the range 5 laser with the attack profile we just mentioned. So this attack ignores line of sight. The defending character does not benefit from cover. You add dice to the attack roll equal to the amount of power spent. So basically, all the characters that you have that are friendlies collect all their power together and add to the 2 dice that you get base. And it has a while called Sweep and Clear. After this attack is resolved, enemy characters within 2 of the target character suffer 1. So basically explosive, right? That's just explosive.
It's just explosive.
Yeah.
It's just called Sweep and Clear.
Yep. So it's a super
Which
cool
is
laser beam.
odd that they didn't just say explosive.
Yeah, that's a little weird. So
yeah, that's odd. I don't know why it doesn't just. I wonder if originally it did something else and then they just changed it to 1 damage and forgot to rename it.
Right. So again, this is another one. I feel like this is another one of those cards that like cool. Moving on because it's not anywhere near the power level.
I actually kind of disagree. I think this is the first time I've seen an attack card that has a variable amount of dice that isn't complete garbage. Now, I don't think it's good, but it's like right on the line of you can make this work. As where Magneto's Magnetic Crush, despite being one of the coolest cards in the game, is completely trash. Like, it's unplayable garbage. This I can see you playing, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, you have Helios Laser. And I would like, all right, I'll try and remember that. Because that's not a terrible card. Right. Especially with somebody like Hulkbuster, who we're predicting is going to have a large amount of power sitting on them.
Right. Also, it is cool because I don't know how many times I've been in the game when Luke Cage didn't have anything to protect. He just got downed, and so he's got 9 power on him. And he's not doing anything with it. Like, he's about to die. He's got 1 health left and 9 power. What am I going to do? Well, here's a whole bunch of Helios lasers. I do like that you can take you're that one character that can't do anything with their huge bucket of power and do something with it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. If only there were people in the affiliation that got a lot of power, like, I don't know, Vision.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe even Vision.
Or, like, play Shuri. Like, there's, a ton of characters in Avengers that get a lot of power.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is actually going to see some play. I think it will be mostly a meme card, but I think it's competitive enough to have some usefulness.
Right. It's also kind of cool that it's range 5, and it's during Tony Stark's activation. So I feel like it's one of those cards that'll make Tony Stark's that activation feel awesome. When he's beaming something way over there and then doing something way over here, that's going to feel really fun.
Yeah.
The other card that's going to come with him is a generic card, unaffiliated reactive card called Fallback. When an allied character is attacked before damage is dealt, it may spend 2 to play this card. This character may advance short away from the attacking character.
I was watching the stream when they were talking about this card, and I love that fucking Will Schick didn't even know how it works. He's like, just think about all the things you can do with it. Like, maybe, they go to attack you, and you're like, oh, I'm going to move towards you. Now what? And they're like, oh, no. And he's like, it's away. And he's like, move sideways then. He didn't know how the card worked. It was pretty funny. I was like, nope, this card's just bad.
Yeah.
The only useful part that was brought up is that you can use it to kind of protect your extract token. Like, if you know you're going to die from the attack, or you expect to die from the attack, you can back further away so they probably won't be able to pick it up.
Right.
Because it's not like Trickster. It doesn't check for line of sight and range again.
No.
It doesn't cancel the attack. It just moves.
It says before damage is dealt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's before damage is dealt. So you can't also use it to move in range of a bodyguard or anything.
Right.
But you might be able to use it to, move back onto a point. Like, what is it? I think it's Daredevil. Let's see the timing on this. This might be useful. Daredevil hits you with the baton throw, and that says, or baton hook, on a wild push the target character. If the target is size 2 or less, it may be pushed towards this character short. And then you could potentially play Fallback. Wow, this doesn't say before or after. Wow, it doesn't specify when baton hook triggers. That's annoying. So assuming that it happens before damage, you might be able to play Fallback
Mhm.
and then get back to your point. That could be a useful point for it. But I can't think of anybody else that pulls as an attack. There's a lot of people that push, but that just helps you move further away, and I don't know
Right.
how useful that would be. Anyway, yeah, not a very good card,
Not yet.
but potentially useful.
Mhm. So that was some of the news. That was the news I was most excited about. However, if you are an X-Man fan, oh my gosh, there's some more
Nah.
news.
I believe those people are called X-Manners.
Yes, or X-fans, X-fans, right? Well, you are not. Brandon, would you consider yourself an X-fan?
No, I'm
No.
a Brotherhood fan.
Right. So that's what I was
Which is why
getting
I'm
to.
excited.
Yes.
I'm many excited.
So you are most excited for the announcement of a lot of X-Men, but one Brotherhood character right now. We know that Juggernaut is coming.
Technically not an announcement, but it is a model preview, which is
Right.
pretty sweet.
So we've seen his model. We know a little bit about him based upon the reveal stream. We know he has a throw, but not terrain. But we do know that his tactics card, "Do you know who I am?" which is the famous line, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," which I thought is delightful little head nod to that weird ass scene with Ellen Page. It's the "Do I know him" is the tactics card, and it allows Juggernaut to throw and now the tactics card's not in front of me anymore. I don't know where it went.
I didn't see the tactics card.
Oh, I did. Yep, here it is. Okay. It says, unaffiliated active Juggernaut may spend 3 power to play this card. Choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both of size 4 or less, and within range 2 of Juggernaut, and throw it long. It is the first long throw of a character possible in the game.
Yeah, the terrain has always been long only.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know he did that.
Yep.
Oof. Juggernaut's gonna be $50. Oof.
Yeah. Well, it comes with this piece of terrain in his hand.
Yeah, it comes with a baseball bat / traffic light.
Yeah.
I like that it's gonna have like red light, green light in his hand, and he's just so you get to decide if it's red light or green light.
Uh-huh. I like that a lot.
So I did listen to this conversation. I tuned in a little late to see the Texas card, I guess, but the conversation they were having, Josh Cologne is their art director, and he was talking about Juggernaut, and he was raving about how much fun he has playing Juggernaut, and he really sold me. I believe that this is gonna be. He's like, I literally don't care. I want to buy Juggernaut, put him together, and play with Juggernaut.
Right.
Like, he's so cool. They talked about the interactions. They refused to show his card, but they talked about the way he was designed is they wanted you to always move. And so he's a character that's designed around the concept his first action will always be to move, to build momentum.
Right.
And it says when he moves, he gains power and will add dice to his next attack. And they acted like it was a noticeable amount of dice. And so they're like, he doesn't need to attack twice. Trust me, you'll only need to attack once.
Yeah.
So I was very excited. They also confirmed that he is a 5-point cost model.
Yes. Yeah, I think he's going to be super fun. Like the thing about Juggernaut is, he seems like the coolest character anytime anybody's touched him. Is the reason why, like, even in like the old Marvel vs. Capcom game, he was like one of everybody's favorites characters is Juggernaut. Like, why did they put in Marvel vs. Capcom in the whole Marvel universe? Why they picked Juggernaut to put in the game? It's because he's so fucking fun. Like, he's awesome.
I mean, his aesthetics are amazing. His concept is really cool. And he's just like the mean, gritty bully.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't take shit from anybody, and he just does what he wants.
Yeah.
It's like Colossus, even. Like, Colossus is a big, like, badass, but he doesn't, like, do what he wants. He does what other people want.
He's an artist. Like, that's
he's an artist. He's, like, stoic. He's protective. He's bought into this other person's philosophy, which is fine.
Right.
But, like Juggernaut just does whatever he wants, and nobody can stop him.
Right.
It's like he throws his towel in with different people over the years, including the X-Men.
Yeah.
But, like, it's always because it's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
As, like, other people have, like, these ideologies that lend them towards helping others, even though it might not necessarily be what they want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Juggernaut a lot. They talked a lot about his sculpt,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you saw, but he's on a custom base.
Yes.
Did you notice about his custom base? His feet are digging into the ground
Right.
because he's pushing with such force that
Uh-huh.
the ground is just crumbling underneath him.
I-
And so his feet are actually digging down below the surface of the base, like deep into the plastic,
Mhm.
which is really cool.
I'm actually
As
super
we're-
excited. Go ahead.
I was just saying, as where other models are usually standing above the ground on other objects, he's actually like digging deep into the ground, which looks really cool.
I'm just excited
go ahead.
for not a base, one of the 4 bases or whatever. I'm just excited for not one of those.
There's
Anything
actually
that's
a
not those.
lot of people not on the normal bases in this wave.
Yep. So, speaking of other people, we know a couple things about other people. First off, apparently there's a mystery tactics card that comes maybe with Juggernaut. They talked about it at the same time. Apparently Sebastian Shaw is on it, and that's all they're willing to say in this stream. So apparently Sebastian Shaw is we expect Sebastian Shaw and White Queen. That's my prediction. Sebastian Shaw and
Well,
White Queen.
right after they said that, he said, "We're literally just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's a ton more coming."
Yeah.
And so we know that they're going to do basically all the mutants.
Yeah.
Spoilers, like, there's already somebody on the release schedule that most people don't even know who she is. Like, it's not Cassandra Nova bullshit. It's characters that people actually care about.
Right.
So, yeah.
So one of the ones they confirmed for sure, and we know a lot about it, is Colossus. Although we didn't get to see his card, we know that he's going to be a tank character, a protector character. He's probably going to have bodyguard, and he's about 4 points. They said he's not like an Okoye, he's more like Captain America, so they hinted heavily at 4 points. We also know the Fastball Special is coming to the game with him, and the Fastball Special has some really cool stuff. It's very, very similar to the
Sibling rivalry.
Get help called Sibling Rivalry. So it says if Colossus is within range 2 of an allied Wolverine, both characters may spend 1 power, throw the allied Wolverine medium. Wolverine does not suffer collision damage during this throw. Enemy characters that he collides with roll 2 fewer dodge dice and suffer the bleed special condition. And remember, Wolverine is made of metal, so he is a size 3 character when thrown.
Yeah, this is so much better than Get Help.
Yes.
Like, so much better.
Uh-huh.
Not only, like, for so many reasons. First off, it only costs 1 each. Actually, Sibling Rival might cost 1 each.
It did.
But
it only cost 1.
Yeah, it's doing the extra damage and it's doing bleed. It's so good.
Right.
Also, these are characters like you would actually, I think, want to play. Like, having potentially 10 points involved in that throw is very different than having 7 or 8 points involved in the throw.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, Loki and Thor don't necessarily want to be around each other. So it's you always, like, trying to force Loki up the table. Well, guess what? Cyclops and Wolverine want to be standing right next to each other.
You
That's
mean
their
Colossus?
job.
You mean Colossus? And Wolverine.
Colossus, sorry.
Yes.
What did I say?
Yeah, you said Cyclops.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Colossus and Wolverine want to stand right next to each other. They want to be in the thick of it.
Right.
Based on what they were saying, it did sound like he's going to have actual bodyguard instead of the Luke Cage style bodyguard where he taunts enemies around him.
Right.
So who knows yet? Maybe Cyclops. Keep doing it. I always do this. Colossus will want to stand in the back lines to protect the squishier people.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about everybody else, but I still feel like there's a big problem with the point costs in the X-Men team.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's going to get fixed until all of these new models are out, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Seems like their okay models are their more expensive models, and their cheap models are their good models. But their cheap models don't have any synergy with each other, so it's just like a pile of okay models.
It's weird.
And then you start adding in the synergy pieces, and then your list gets really expensive, and it just doesn't seem to work. That's at least my experience.
Cool little side bit. The first, we keep wanting the Sentinel in the game. So the first Sentinel we're going to get in the game is going to be a hand and a head that Colossus has dismantled in his model. So Colossus will have some Sentinel pieces in his model kit, which is pretty cool. Colossus,
he's
go ahead.
they showed the model.
Mhm.
He's holding a broken Sentinel arm above his head, and he's stepping on a Sentinel head.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
So now I just realized I want to double check just to make sure I got this right, because Colossus is coming with his sister, right? They're in the same box. Yeah. So
that is official.
Right. So Colossus' sister, Ileana Rasputin, also known as Magic, is actually a new mutant. Not a lot of people know about her unless you're a big X-Men fan, but she is a really cool character. We know already what her card is going to be. She is a 3-cost, 5 health character on both sides. She's identical with medium movement and size 2. She has 3 physical defense, 3 energy defense, and 4 mystic defense. Her first attack is an energy attack called the Bolts of Ushtur. It is range 4 dice, and she gets 1 power for doing so. The Soul Sword, which is her kind of the thing that makes her unique in the Marvel Universe, is this big giant, Cloud Strife Buster Sword thing that she swings around, is a mystic attack with range 2, 5 dice. It costs 0. She does gain power equal to the damage dealt, and it has Pierce on a wild. And then finally, she has a mystic ability called Dark Child, which, if you know anything about the character, is she is the Dark Child. That's what this is called. So it's a range 3 attack, 6 dice, costs 4 power. When calculating successes, this character adds the number of skull results, so that's fails, to both the attack and defense rolls to its total. After this attack is resolved, this character gains bleed and incinerate. So really, really scary. Although it's only 6 dice base, it can spike up to much higher since it counts fails for attack and defense.
And anyone who's played Scarlet Witch knows that adding an additional dice face matters, especially when that's normally not a dice face you want to roll.
Right. Finally, she has a power called Limbo Step. It costs X, and it changes how it works. This character can spend 1 to 3 power, place this character within 1 to 3 range of their current position, where X is the amount of power spent. So that it is, she can spend 1, 2, or 3 power, and then immediately place herself 1, 2, or range 3. Finally, she is the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, which is the dimension that she has does all of her magic stuff in. And when this character is defending against a mystic attack, for each wild in her defense roll, she may immediately change one of the attacker's hits, wilds, or crit results to a blank. This character gains 1 power for each dice changed this way. So this is basically the same thing as Carol Danvers' energy absorption, only for mystic.
It's mystic absorption, where Doctor Strange has both energy and mystic absorption.
Right.
Very cool. She's kind of an eclectic character, I guess. From what I understand, she's a normal mutant that has the ability to kind of create portals, kind of like Blank does, right?
No, she's the portals all come from her ability to. I don't even know if she is a mutant, because the only thing I've ever seen her do is use magic. Is she even
okay?
A mutant?
Well, the way it was explained to me is that her portal stuff she does is her mutant ability. And then, on top of that, she has her sorcery, which does, all the other stuff she does. Yeah, and then, the sword has, her soul inside of it, which gives her other abilities, too.
Yes, she's, think of her kind of, she's basically like a heroic version of Voldemort. She's destroyed her soul so many times to gain power. She's kind of a husk of a person now. But instead of going straight off the deep end with sociopathy, she basically turns it for the better of things. Mostly because she has friends. But the only thing that keeps her from completely losing her mind is her friendships she has with the New Mutants and her brother. Otherwise, she has no conscience. She's completely destroyed her own mind. By making so many deals with devils in Limbo, this dimension that she frequents.
I like to imagine she just shoved Jiminy Cricket into a sword and is like, let's do this. And then she just talks to her sword a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So you were right. Her mutant power is the portals that she opens. And the reason why she's affiliated with Limbo is that's what her mutant power actually allows her to access. So that's what
it's kind of like Nightcrawler, where he goes to that demon dimension to teleport.
Man.
But hers, she goes through a gateway and through Limbo.
Yes, and so Limbo is a place where time and space has no meaning. So she can teleport. She goes through time constantly. Also, she never tells anybody where she goes or what she does. But one of the things that she has done is she's teleported through time to get tutelage from Doctor Strange. So she actually has trained through magic with Doctor Strange in different moments in time. That Strange didn't know that she was traveling through time, but she was. So she plays with everything. She's a master manipulator. Also, she's constantly messing with everybody.
She's got a very Iron Maiden / Frenzied Berserker look going on,
Yes.
which is pretty rad.
Right. Yeah.
Her model is awesome.
Yeah, she's like jumping out of like a portal and with a swinging the sword. Yeah.
I played a lot of D&D in my day, mostly 3.5, and this is almost exactly the artwork from the Frenzied Berserker class portrait. It's like she's this chick jumping up in the air with a great sword. She's screaming. And there's a bunch of people trying to run away as fast as they can.
Yes.
It's like, nope, you're gonna die.
And in D&D, isn't there like a demon race, like a friendly demon race? Isn't that a thing in
Tiefling.
D&D? The what's that?
The Tieflings are descendants of people who have infernal or demon blood in their heritage.
Okay. That she very much is a walking Marvel
some
Comics
people
tiefling.
I mean, some people it's like you look like a Baylor that's the size of a human, like
Right.
it's very obvious, and some tieflings in the lore are like as subtle as like having like reddish eyes or like maybe a tail or something. It varies greatly based on like the dilution of the blood in throughout your bloodline and like how many generations removed you are.
Yeah. Well, she could have easily been a character that transforms. I don't think they need to add every character that changes shape to make them actually change shape in this game. But in the Marvel comics, she can actually transform.
Now I want to play Magic in D&D.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'll just make a Frenzied Berserker wizard tiefling. It'll be amazing.
Yep. And speaking of wizards, she also has been revealed to be part of the Convocation faction, so she'll actually be in there too.
That was confirmed today.
Yep. So beyond Magic, we also have gambling with Gambit. We know he's coming. We did not see his card, but we know he's going to be 3 threat. He's a ranged character, primarily like a mid-range character. Apparently, he's very power hungry because his Beam Spender is by far one of his strongest attacks, and everybody talks about his Beam Spender many times in the stream.
Oh well, what they said in the stream is that he actually generates a lot of power.
Yes.
So he actually helps Cyclops in that regard, that he'll produce enough power to kind of keep that going. So that might be what we're missing to see why Cyclops isn't complete trash.
Right. Another thing he has that's cool, we know he has a generic power that when he does an attack, he can always spend a single power to turn one of his dice results to a wild, and all of his attacks have wild effects. So that's cool. We know one of his tactics cards called Charming Thief, which is kind of like Soul Stone on a stick. Charming Thief says that during the power phase, Gambit can play the card. This round, when an enemy character within range 4 of Gambit uses a superpower, Gambit gains 1 after the effect is resolved. So it's precisely Soul Stone on a stick, right?
It is Soul Stone, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why, when it comes to X-Men tactics cards, everyone at AMG is a fucking idiot. It just prints these complete trash cards. And I want to say his card is unplayable, but there's so few X-Men cards that aren't unplayable that this might actually get played.
Yeah, who knows?
Like, I don't know. They're so bad.
Props for the model, though. The model is so, like, straight out of a comic panel. It's perfect. Gambit. I
Very
love it.
Gambit.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm worried about is the 3D rendering they showed us makes a lot of the details look a little extra thick, but it's kind of zoomed in, so I don't know how it's going to look on the table.
They have put a video down of their of what they've already done. The paint crew's already done. So there's a video on their Facebook. Yeah, there's a Facebook page, and it looks great. It looks great in plastic. It looks really good. So there is now a video up. That shows you, if you like to see it beyond the 3D renders that were shown in the stream today, there's more online now to show you some of that cool stuff. So moving on to Gambit's
next card.
What's up?
Next card.
Yep. So Gambit's.
Or do you want to do the character first? We should probably do the character first.
Yeah, like Rogue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready for Rogue. Rogue. Also known as Anna Marie. She has a 6 health on both sides, moves medium, size 2, and she's a 4-cost X-Men. She has 4 physical defense, 3 energy defense, and 3 mystic defense. Her abilities are all around her mutant power to absorb the life energy and the powers of people that she touches directly with her skin. So her first one is called Absorbing Strike. It is a range 2 5-dice attack. Before choosing a target, the character can change it to be either energy or physical, representing the fact that she, weakens people, and it doesn't matter who you are, she's going to hurt you with her strike. After this attack is resolved, the character gains power equal damage dealt, and she has sap power on a wild. Her other physical attack, Southern Hospitality, is range 2, 7 dice for 3. If this target character is size 4 or less, after this attack is resolved, it may be thrown short. So the first thing I thought of when I saw this character was, wow, 4 cost for 2 range 2 attacks that are just kind of meh. And that's how I felt until you get to the powers. She has a charge for 2 power, the action that combines a move action and an attack. She has Marvelous Strength, which is a size 4 or less throw of only terrain within range 2. She throws it medium for 3 power. And then her signature, Mutant Absorption. For 2 power, she does this, and here we go. Choose an enemy character within range 2 of this one. Roll 5 dice. The chosen character loses power equal to the number of crits, wilds, and damages. If that chosen character would lose more power than it has, you immediately suffer damage instead of power. The chosen character does not gain power for damage suffered this way. So basically she sucks power out of you. If you don't have power, she sucks life out of you. And
basically like an unblockable attack in the right situation.
Yes. And then finally, Kree Mutant Physiology, she has damage reduction to a minimum of 1. She is flight and immune to poison. So at first, you look at her and you're like, okay, 2 fine attacks, like they're very fair. Absorbing Strike seems okay, but both being range 2 seems meh. But then when you combine that with her power, where she basically just gets to roll a 5-die attack that you can't defend, and it will at least take your energy, if not your life, is super cool. I think she...
Well, if you break it all down, so first off, the range 2 attacks seem not great, but then you realize she has charge, so that's obviously not an issue.
Right.
Then having the ability to do Mutant Absorption, which is basically like buying an attack action if you do it before you hit them.
Right.
And so that can potentially do more damage. And then the Marvelous Strengthening to throw a size 4 piece of terrain into them is like another free attack that you haven't used yet. And then you still have your 2 attacks. And then if you do the Spender attack, that's 7 dice, it automatically throws the character short if they're less than size 5.
4,
and so,
yeah.
Even though less than size 5, yeah.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, you're correct. What am I thinking? English.
So, words have meanings.
Yeah.
So you're doing possible damage from Mutant Absorption, minimum reducing their power usually, plus a throw of terrain, 1 or 2 attacks, probably 2 because of charge, and then potentially one of those attacks could throw them in addition. So she has a lot of opportunities for extra damage.
Right.
And then you look at her defensive side, and 4-3-3 is pretty solid, but then the damage reduction on top of that is a very survivable stat line, being that she has 12 hit points.
Yeah. I think they did a really cool job making her kind of an unconventional brawler. Instead of just having really big attacks or really big spenders and having to slowly get power for them, she's actually gaining power pretty quickly and using it in interesting ways that goes with her, her fluff. Me personally, I've always absolutely hated the character Rogue. In the comics, in the show, I hate...
Get off my podcast.
I hate her. I hate her with a fiery passion. I really don't
get fired.
I really don't like the Southern. I don't like the Southern Belle thing. I don't like the whole I can't touch anybody, but I want to love. Like, I don't like anything about that. She was put into the comics at the same time that, in the early 90s they were revivifying the Uncanny X-Men, and they wanted to turn it into a soap opera because everyone loved Wolverine, and they thought, what if we did a soap opera around Wolverine? And so it was basically Young and the Restless with Wolverine, and she was put in for exactly that reason. She was supposed to be a super, super tough on the outside, literally untouchable woman that desperately wanted to feel. And she was part of so many love triangles. It was nauseating. And then the Southern drawl thing that was so horribly voice acted in that show. There's so many things about her character that made my skin crawl. That, and then in the first movie they make her like this emo whiny girl. That I was just like, oh, please, for the love of God, somebody make a Rogue I care about. there wasn't a Rogue I cared about until the Uncanny Avengers, which is a very new thing where the X-Men and Avengers mixed together after A versus X, and Rogue was actually a team leader on the Avengers. That was actually the most like entertaining Rogue I've ever seen. But man, I had to wait a long time before I found a Rogue that I could stand. So
Are you done with your fucking whiny bullshit yet?
Some people hate Cyclops. I all the feelings that people have towards Cyclops, I have towards Rogue. I don't want the character in my life, but
what
this character is cool.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Rogue is a bad character for 15 years. That's what's wrong with me.
So you're like Rogue and Gambit versus Scott and Jean. You're like Scott and Jean are way more compelling. Like they're like fucking made of cardboard. Like it's so boring.
I would say yes. I would 100% say that Jean Grey is a much more compelling character than Rogue. 100%. Yes.
I hate you.
Not
you know why I hate you?
even close.
Because you're a terrible person with terrible tastes. That's why I hate you.
I mean, what's the best way to put this?
You have terrible taste. That's how we put it.
Rogue and Gambit were designed to, they wanted to put them in bikinis and stuff. Like that is how they drew those comics in the early 90s. Like they wanted another character with boobs and long legs, and so they made Rogue, so they could draw her in bikinis, but nobody could touch her. Like it was a play to that side of nerddom that wanted this kind of literal goddess on a pedestal, and it was so weak. That being said, I have a really hard time defending what they were doing to Cyclops and Jean Grey at that time, so it's not like they're just like so much. So
you're
better.
Basically just complaining about comic writing in that time period, but you're deciding to take it out on Rogue and Gambit.
Yes, because Rogue and Gambit were the ones that were added there, and they didn't change very much afterwards.
Oh my god!
I'll say this: when that became an unpopular opinion, and the way that X-Men and comics in general changed, instead of doing something interesting with Rogue and Gambit, they just dropped them because they didn't know what to do with them. So Rogue and Gambit became non-existent in X-Men for years, in terms of characters that mattered, because they weren't compelling. They were only made for this one purpose. Until they were brought back up in a few things. Actually, only Rogue was. Gambit never really came back for any reason. But I wish that Rogue was more compelling, and I've seen her done right in like alternate universe stuff. She's come up cool. In one alternate universe, in the Age of Apocalypse, she's Magneto's wife. Super cool character as Magneto's wife. Really cool. That's awesome. But I am not excited to put her on the tabletop. But the point of all that huge diatribe, I feel like I had to explain myself because you got so mad at me.
Because you were just doing fucking mouth garbage for like 3 minutes. I'm like, shut up. Nobody wants to hear your fucking weird fetish crap about fucking 90s comics.
I will say that Rogue, this card, regardless of how I feel about the character, this card makes me want to play her, which is the opposite of how I feel about Cyclops. I really wanted to play Cyclops, but the card makes me not want to play him. So I
think this is just you coming to grips with your weird skew viewpoint of Scott was good and Rogue was bad, and it's actually the reverse, and you're finally starting to accept it. And you're like, God, maybe I've actually just been wrong my entire life. That's what's happening right now.
Like that guy in Family Guy, the prisoner who stabs himself. I belong here. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
So.
I'm sorry, everybody at home. You had to listen to this idiot for like 3 minutes.
I'm not gonna do a comic corner on. You know what? Hey,
Parker,
challenge
just
accepted.
wrap your head around this. You are already the least liked member of the podcast, and so now everyone's gonna hate. You're gonna get death threats.
Hey, anyone who wants to debate with me the merits of Rogue, I will gladly point them in the direction of a few comics that totally redeem themselves. But the Rogue in this picture, the Rogue in the card art, this Rogue was just the worst. So
see, you're just fucking digging that hole as deep as you can.
No, I am standing tall in this hole, probably down deep.
Yeah, exactly. You're like at the Earth's core. Like it's warm down here.
It is
starting to get hot, guys.
It's moist down here, but I stand tall in the dark. So she does come with a card. Pardon me, sugar. Jesus, I hate even saying those words. Pardon me, sugar. So
I feel like you're just making fun of people from Louisiana, and you're just triggering more people.
She's not from Louisiana. No. Remy LeBeau being from Louisiana, I actually, when I was a kid, I loved that because all my family's from Louisiana, and I loved the Cajun character. I felt like Rogue was. Moving on. Suga is
Hold
not.
Hold on. Wait. Did you notice that Rogue's last name is LeBeau as well?
Yes, because she married him.
Yeah, but I didn't know if that was official in the timeline or anything. I don't read comics, so.
Oh yeah,
is that like something that happens fairly early on?
Honestly, the will they won't they between Rogue and Gambit was like a long storyline. It was just like, Ross and Rachel and Friends. It just kind of lingered for a long time. At one point, she was with Magneto in the primary universe, and they were boyfriend and girlfriend, or I guess kind of a love triangle with not Gambit at the time. I can't remember who it was. Rogue's always been like a love interest, but I honestly don't know if that's still like her given name. Yeah, apparently they had a wedding. Yep, and.
Because wasn't Rogue Raven's daughter?
Yes, she is Mystique's daughter.
Okay.
No. Is it Mystique's daughter or is it Destiny's daughter? I'm pretty sure it's Destiny's daughter, not Mystique's daughter.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure in a lot of the television shows they make her Mystique's daughter, but I didn't read the comics, so.
Yes, but I'm fairly sure she is Destiny's daughter, but Destiny and Mystique are lovers, so I guess she has two moms, kind of.
Yeah.
It's funny. I just typed in the internet, "Rogue is Destiny's child," which is a weird thing to tell the internet.
Save search on,
because they just all of a sudden I get nothing but Beyonce.
What's happening?
Wait a minute.
So quick story. I was at work a year or two ago. It's been a while. And there's these playmat tubes. Anybody who's ever played a card game knows what a playmat is. Basically, it's like a big mouse pad that you put your cards on at a table so you don't like accidentally put your cards in water or something. But basically, it's just a clean play surface to put your cards on. But anyway, because these card players have to transport their playmats around, they make playmat tubes, which are these plastic cylinders like those bank canisters that you put your playmat in, and then you can like put it in your backpack and it'll stay rolled up. But one of the brands that our store used to carry was called Monster. And so the product name was Monster-Tube. And I couldn't find the MSRP on it. So I Google searched Monster Tube $sign. And I got some not safe for work kickbacks. And as soon as I hit enter, I was like, wait a second. I was like, no, I got. I can only imagine the person who designed this product is like, I'm going to get so many people.
That's awesome.
It's like, that's the sole purpose of their product existing. Anyway.
That's fantastic.
Go ahead and read the Texas card now. And don't put your fucking biased bullshit into it. People don't need your goddamn politics.
Okay, by the way, I just found out while you were explaining the Monster Tube, she got married after the X-Men Avengers Unity stuff, so that's why I had not seen that. It's brand new information, actually. So the fact that they put that on this card is kind of cool because this is very recent.
Okay.
But unaffiliated active, during Rogue's activation, she may play this card, select one of the following effects. If Wolverine is within range 2 of Rogue, she immediately gains Healing Factor, passive superpower, this activation, and Wolverine suffers 1 damage. If Cyclops is within range 2 of Rogue, Rogue may immediately use the Optic Blast listed on his stat card, Cyclops suffers 1 damage. If Storm is within range 2 of Rogue, Rogue adds 2 dice to all attack rolls for her next attack action, this action. Storm suffers 1 damage. If Deadpool is within range 2 of Rogue, choose an enemy character within range 2 of Rogue. That chosen character loses 2 power. Deadpool again suffers 1 damage. If Magneto is within range 2 of Rogue, she gains cover against all attacks targeting her this round. Magneto suffers 1 damage.
When you're going to read these, you need to read them actually the way they are and not like ad-lib. Because you said immediately uses Optic Blast, and that's not what it says. It says may use Optic Blast once this activation, so she still has to spend the action. If it said immediately uses Optic Blast, it wouldn't spend the action.
Oh, I see. Yes, you're right.
So be careful to just don't put your own fucking hippie bullshit into it. Just read it as it says.
Okay.
All right.
Hippie bullshit?
Yeah, you're hippie bullshit. I know you're a hippie. Don't even try.
Okay, continue.
So initially, when I first read this, and first of all, this is one of the other cards that they should have used bullet points on, but they didn't. So it's just a wall of letters. Yeah. But basically, it's Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Deadpool, or Magneto. She can steal an ability from, and they're all specific abilities. And each time, if she does it, the person takes a damage. So I initially thought healing factor on Wolverine was the obvious choice, because you spent it costs 0 power to heal 2. That's pretty solid, right? But the Magneto one to gain cover is also a really good one. And since you said that thing where she was like married to Magneto for a while or whatever, that seems pretty cool. So there was an interaction there. But now that I'm like understanding her kit more, I think the Deadpool one is actually pretty useful. Because if she's about to do her energy drain thing, she can drop 2 power off them first, which will potentially give her even more damage.
Yeah. So yeah, it's for that it is drop 2 power / do 2 damage, which both effects are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the add 2 dice to her attack rolls for Storm isn't bad. Optic Blast is probably the worst because her attack is better than Optic Blast.
Yeah.
That's the kind of like head scratcher moment. Like, what's wrong with you? I kind of wish they had done one for like, what's a good one? I mean, of the characters out currently, I guess you could have done Jean Grey, and she could have done like a mind control effect where like move somebody once. That would have been really cool, but probably more complicated. But yeah, I just don't know why you would ever choose Cyclops.
In the comics, well, they haven't printed Colossus.
They do it a lot in the comics. Yeah.
Well, in the comics, she takes Colossus's like steel skin constantly. Like, that's one of the common things that she has is steel skin. I actually expected there to be like, if within range 2 of like Colossus, gains damage reduction.
That would definitely invalidate the Magneto one. But...
Yes. The fact that they put Magneto in here, I think, is a nod precisely to the time when they were lovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Colossus is like in the comic books. She constantly takes a little bit from every X-Men to become a superpowered X-Men because she isn't a mega level mutant. She is super duper strong because functionally she has no power limit. In one comic, she takes the power from every like Marvel hero you can name. Just like pick the Avengers roster in Marvel Crisis Protocol. She touches all of them, and then she flies up and she holds a Celestial off of the Earth. A Celestial's trying to punch through the Earth, and she holds it up for like 4 or 5 minutes, which buys Thor time to do his thing. It's pretty cool.
So yeah, this is a pretty cool card. It's obviously much better than Yoink. This will probably get played because X-Men cards are so trash that this is actually good.
Yeah.
But it's also thematic.
Yeah.
I like that it's flexible. It being flexible adds a lot more value. Like, how can you compare this to a card that says your character might gain 2 power? Like, how is that a tactic slot? And this is a tactic. Like this is so much better than the fucking other one.
Yeah.
And it's not even really that great. It's just good.
And honestly, if you're playing X-Men, you're probably only going to use the first 3 because you'd have to find a way to get Deadpool and Magneto in your list otherwise.
Yeah, well, I think Rogue is solid enough to get played in several lists because she's just a 4-point like beater. Like she's a versatile beater, which is good.
Fast.
Like you could play her in X-Force pretty easily.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like they have a shortage of 4-point characters, but like whatever.
You could.
Oh, you could play Pardon Me Sugar and Yoink and just confuse everybody with what's going on.
I have these 2 essays you may read if you'd like to know what I'm about to do.
By the time you finish reading the task card, look up your opponent's turn is over and you're like, what happened? Like, I did stuff.
Yoink,
it's really just a diversion card.
I say Yoink is really just a way for Deadpool to take your time. He yoinks time away from you.
I play Yoink. What does that do? Here, you better read it. Like 5 minutes go by. What happened?
So, speaking of characters and other lists, we also got, right after this reveal, we got affiliation list update. So we know where some of the characters that we did not know are going to end up. First off, guess what list gets another character? The Avengers! Yay!
Affiliation update.
Yay! The Avengers get more people. The Avengers get Dr. Voodoo. So we have one more person in the Avengers, which thank God I didn't know what I was going to do if I didn't have another person in the Avengers lineup. But we get to have Dr. Voodoo here in our Avengers.
Dr. Voodoo.
Yeah, Dr. Voodoo.
Dr. Voodoo.
Dr. Voodoo. Yeah, he's going to be in the Avengers. Cabal.
Ooh.
Cabal gets Baron Mordo and the Hood.
I read ahead. Yeah, I read ahead. This is
Um,
awesome. Baron Mordo and Cabal is a big deal.
Yes, it is. He is going to be a badass in Cabal. Also, he's 3 points in Cabal because Cabal has a lot of 4-pointers. Convocation. We know
I'm very excited.
in
Do you
Convocation.
see it?
I do. Just wait a second.
I see it! I see it! All right.
Convocation. Convocation has the Ancient One, Baron Mordo, Clea, Doctor Strange, both of them, Doctor Voodoo, Magic, and Wong. So we already knew a lot of these things, but we weren't sure if Wong was going in there. We're pretty sure he is, and Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, is in Convocation as well.
I feel like
Go ahead.
the Convocation roster is just that guy, the doctor. He's like doctor.
Doctor, what is it? It's strange. Yes.
Mr. Doctor, actually.
Mr.
He's
Doctor.
like, Mr. Doctor. He's like, it's strange. I guess a bit. like, God damn it.
So
No, but
we also found out that the Hood is going to be in Criminal Syndicate, which makes some sense for his background.
no. What you do? You can't just skip over Convocation like this.
What? We are okay.
This is a big deal.
What's the big deal? I actually was not surprised. What's the big deal?
Doctor Strange is in Convocation. We talked about this.
Oh, because
You can use Time Stone more than once because of the Wand of Watum.
Right. The Wand of Watum lets you do the time stone.
4 action Doctor Strange. It's going to happen.
And
then isn't there one where you can remove an activated token as well? So he can take 7 actions in a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AMG, you done fucked up.
Again, like, yeah, you can. Yeah, I guess.
Shut up, Parker. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't like Rogue.
Why? Okay. I can't believe.
Shut up and read the words.
Okay. Criminal Syndicate also got Hood, which I dig a lot just for the sake of the Hood. I don't know how strong he'll be in Criminal Syndicate per se yet. I have to stare at him a little more, but he is in there. We found out that we have new defenders, so the Ancient One is going to be a defender as well as Clea, and the new Doctor Strange is going to be a defender as well. So one of the things I thought that was interesting is, so the new Doctor Strange is a defender, but if you play him, you cannot play the actual leader of the defenders right now. So they actually need second leader of the defenders to get a benefit from a leadership. So if you play Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, you cannot benefit from the defender's leadership ability because it's only printed right now in Doctor Strange. So I'm just saying.
Can't use Mystic Attack. Yeah, but you still get to use the other cards like Vapors of Altor and the Pentagram of Farley.
Yes. So you still get the cool tactics cards or 80 cards that say Doctor Strange on them.
Which is really why you play Defenders.
Right. And we know that the Midnight Suns, we already knew a lot of them originally, but we know Dr. Voodoo is going to be in the Midnight Suns as well as Wong. So Wong is actually going to be a Midnight Sun, which I think is actually not nothing. I'm excited to see. I am actually excited for Midnight Suns. It's the new faction, new affiliation from the new stuff that I'm excited to try. So I am excited to try Midnight Suns, and the fact that Wong is in there, I think is going to work really well with a lot of their stuff. Wong and Ghost Rider both going to be in Midnight Suns. Wong and Ghost Rider really like each other. I like them together. And that's all we have that's been updated. But
well, don't forget, all of those characters are also in Dark Dimension.
Yes, all those characters, every character on the affiliation list, is also in Dark Dimension.
Dark Dimension is just Secret Avengers.
Yeah.
It's like they're actually the Avengers because everyone's in Avengers, but actually everybody's in Dark Dimension.
Everyone.
Everyone. Do you know why?
Everyone's
It's because Dormammu accepts all.
Yeah. Oh, here's a curious thing. In the Midnight Suns, Doctor Strange is in the Midnight Suns, but not Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme. So the new Doctor Strange is not in there. So it's worth
too
noting.
busy being snobby in Convocation.
Apparently. And Defenders. But he won't join the Midnight Suns, which I think is interesting. But
it's weird that they're like in 2 of the 3 factions together, but there's this weird triangle going on. Yeah. It's like, well, we're both in Convocation, but not Ghost Rider, and then in the Midnight Suns, one of the Doctor Stranges is there, but and Ghost Rider's there. Yeah. And then Defenders is all 3.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
So actually, could you think of a reason why would they not let Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme in Midnight Suns? What's the reason why not?
It might just be an oversight because he hasn't officially been released yet. So he might end up being there, but I don't know. It might just be I don't know, at that point in his life, maybe he had already left the Midnight Suns when he became Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know. I know the canon-wise that's not true, but
Yeah.
because he was always Sorcerer Supreme since he's been Doctor Strange.
Right. That is...
But yeah, it might be like a chronological issue. It's like, well, he wouldn't really be there because he's got other responsibilities at that point. I don't know.
It is true the Midnight Suns, like this new costume that they have with the Sorcerer Supreme is very new. Like right now in the comics, he looks like that. So like it's the fact that they're doing Midnight Suns in the classic Doctor Strange does make sense from that standpoint. But I was thinking more of just like because they put both versions in everything that made sense to. Not putting in this one makes me go, where is it broken? Like when does the Dhampir and Doctor Strange get broken? Is it that if he moved range 1 and then placed range 3, it would be broken? Is that a thing? I'm trying to figure it out, but maybe I don't know.
I don't think it's a game balance issue. I think it's just a like a chronological fluff issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we don't know for sure that's not going to happen because he was added to Defenders, it kind of would make sense that it happened now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really should have happened if it was going to happen.
I think it's not going to happen.
Again, though, like, does it matter if you're going to play one character out of affiliation? Like, who cares?
That's also true. If you really, really want to play Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, you can still easily do it. There's actually a lot of Midnight Suns that are not expensive. There's several 3-pointers and a 2-pointer, so it's not too difficult.
I think, is this the end of the news? Do we have anything else?
Finally, yes. That was the end of the news.
So I have a little add-on I want to say is if you have not watched any of the live streams from Atomic Mass Games, you should really take some time this weekend and go and watch some of these live streams just to get a feel for who the developers are. Because in a lot of games, you don't get to like pierce the veil and actually see the developers and hear them talk about the product. But in Atomic Mass Games makes the effort to get in touch with their community. And it's because they have such a huge passion for the content that they're developing. Like, anytime you see, like, when was the last time Atomic Mass Games put anyone other than a talking head in front of a monitor and said, tell them about stuff that's happening? And they're like, oh, well, like, we made this new ship. This ship does this. And then, like, buy the ship is the rest of the message. Like, they don't care. Like, it's like, this thing is a block of numbers and a piece of plastic to them that's going to make them money. But, like, the people that are making the Atomic Mass Game stuff, like, even the art guy talking about the pictures is, like, talking about the models and the history of the characters and, like, his favorite character coming to the game and how excited he is. And, like, you can tell, like, they're getting excited just talking about stuff that isn't even normally that exciting. Like, they clearly have a deep passion for the game, which is why I think the game is doing so well, because the passion comes through out of the characters. Like, some things jump off the page. Like, we talk about, like, Punisher, like, being very accurate to, like, the way he operates in the game. Like, he feels dangerous, but he's still just a human. And, like Hulk, like, even though Hulk's not good, they managed to capture what Hulk does in card. Like, it feels like Hulk, not like, if you put out Black Dwarf and called it Hulk, it wouldn't feel like Hulk. Like, you can tell that they put effort into these characters.
I think, like, our discussion about the Hulkbuster today is a really good example of, like, wow, what a great way of thinking. Now, if I was Iron Man, like if I was Tony Stark and I was going to build a Hulkbuster armor, how would I do that? And then how could I translate that into a card in a game?
Yeah.
Like that's really smart.
We're talking about, like, it wasn't even just that they made it, like, look like Hulkbuster and give it Hulkbuster-like things. Also, the way he plays on the table is the way that Hulkbuster would fight.
Right.
And so it's like, they put, like, layers of thought into this. And they were talking about on the stream, talking about Rogue again. They, at one point, had Rogue able to just copy other people's superpowers.
Right.
And they're like, we could not balance it. It was impossible. It's like, we tried it for a month and we couldn't get it to work. We had to scrap it. Like, it's like, oh, but they tried. Like, the fact that they knew that's what people would want and they put the effort in, and they didn't just give up after 3 minutes of talking about it. They put, like, weeks of playtesting into it and to try to get that to us, and it just wasn't a possibility. It shows two things. It shows, one, that they care about the source material. They understand it to the point where they can translate it to the game. and they have enough of a sense of balance to know what not to do that will ruin the game.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I want to see from developers. So I'm more excited just watching the streams. Like the spoilers are great, but I'm excited to see them excited, honestly.
I also love they talk about a moment where things just happen organically and they play tested it and it just seems to work, and they love that kind of serendipity with Magic's Limbo Step. That was just something. It was one of them was just like, I bet this would work. Wouldn't that be cool? And that would be cool. Let's try that on the card. And they just kept working. You're like, this has never been broken, so we're just going to do this.
It seems fine. Good job.
The very first thing anyone said is now what's on the card. Yeah.
And then at first the guy was like, yeah, just any range up to 5. And the guy's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, not up to 5.
Well, that's right.
Like,
he did say up to 5. That's right.
Yeah, he's like, no. Not 5.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So that's the end of news. In the news extravaganza.
Yeah, that was very.
We'll have
news.
even more news next time because this event happens all weekend. We've only had 2 days of streaming happening.
Oh boy!
Tomorrow night, which is going to be Saturday, Piercing the Veil. We recorded on Friday. They're going to do a future of MCP cast where they're going to talk about like what their roadmap is for the future. And so I would expect more like broad spoilers from that, but not like specific characters or like abilities and rules and stuff, but maybe like an idea of what to expect going forward.
I'm really excited for that one because that's one of the things about this game I've thought many times. Just like, where is the, no pun intended, end game? Like, what are they looking forward to? Is it just like making every single mutant in the game, like you said before? Like, is that what they want, or are they interested in always following along with the what's right, what is really popular right now, or what's on Disney Plus? They've already kind of broken away from that, so I'm excited to see.
Well, Schick was talking about it in one of the painting streams I randomly tuned in for because I was bored. And he was saying that they obviously try to match up with the visual media that's coming out for Marvel, but within reason, they really can't because of the production time. Because by the time they find out that like a TV show is in production and a vague release expectation, like even if it's like third quarter of 2022, and you're like, oh, okay, well, if we started designing models for that right now, it would come out after the show releases. Like, so
right.
Because of the time it takes to like, do the concept design and do the artwork and then get the model ready and then send the model to production, get the model back, get the amenities made like tokens and cards and stuff, and get it all packaged up, get that shipped around the world. It's like, well, you're 18 months in, so fuck it. Like, it's so hard to keep up with that stuff. But within reason, like, they know, like, the Midnight Suns was coming, and so conveniently Midnight Suns is dropping in this game. Dormammu was announced in like 4 different Marvel games in the same weekend. So there's some things, because they do interact with Marvel. They talk about that. There's a Marvel like creative designer that they have to talk to and get everything approved. And so he's trying to get everybody to sync up to get maximum value out of this. But within reason, they can only do so much.
Right.
And obviously, like we play Marvel Strike Force, the phone game, and people have been clamoring for Rogue and Gambit in that game for 2.5 years, and we got them first. It's like, get fucked, guys. Like they clearly are trying to get us what we want. So the people there, like one of my friends, Ryan, I think we've talked about him a couple times on the podcast. He lives in St. Joe, but he just got into the game, and he's really sad. He just discovered how bad Hulk is. And he's like, oh, I love Hulk. Like, it's really sad. And so he's like trying to ask me, he's like, well, are they going to rat at him? Are they going to like fix him to make him better? I was like, no, there's no chance they're going to change the current Hulk. There will eventually be a new Hulk.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to wait for. And he's like, yeah, but like, when are they going to do that? I was like, well, they already made She-Hulk. Like how many deep cuts, like how often have you seen She-Hulk in random Marvel media? Like, they're trying to get us the stuff that people care about. Like, and so clearly they know we like Hulk. And so he's going to come out. We just got to wait.
Yeah. I expect like World War Hulk or Immortal Hulk, or, they could pick lots of different versions.
World Breaker Hulk or whatever.
They could even do, if you want to, you do Red Hulk and that kind of stuff too, if you wanted to. I don't know if people didn't care about it being Bruce Banner, you could do that kind of thing too. Yeah.
Ooh. I'm not going to talk about that. One other thing I did want to talk about. Oh yeah. There's a new event coming up. It's called Defend Magic. Right. And it's a worldwide like campaign event that's going to be happening online. But it was confirmed that it's following the same storyline that you did in your panel to play about the tech guy coming in and trying to kill Doctor Strange, destroy all magic.
Right.
So it's to stop them from destroying magic. So that we talked about that on the podcast, like right before it got announced, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Empiricool, those guys. I wonder if they'll. I hope they'd use the same fluff. That'd be tight. Those guys.
I think that's the plan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that was cool. Moving on to our next segment, segment 2. Let's see, timestamp 1 hour 50.
Yeah,
doing good so far.
Well, I mean, that's what this was, right? We knew this was going to be.
No, we knew. We don't even have a main topic today because we knew it was going to be news.
Yeah.
So first thing, currently playing. I am trying to transition into Spider Foes. It's not going well. My web warriors are much better than my spider foes, I've discovered.
What?
But my first list, I tried to play. I just wanted to play the new stuff, and so I played the new Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage, and Miles. I think was my 4-man roster. I had one of the other web warriors. I think it was Miles was the 4th. It went pretty well. It was this weird brawler type list. Yeah, it was definitely Miles. It was Miles. Miles had a god turn, which was really sweet, because the turn before I had used the Amazing Spider-Man's leadership to put slow on the enemy Carnage, and Miles got dazed, so he wakes up with 10 power. Web swings in, uses the leadership ability to place Carnage, plays all webbed up, and then just fucking like beats the shit out of 2 people. I was like, that's awesome. Get him, buddy! And then it's just like, and then Carnage, in Miles' activation, plays Carnage rules, and it keeps attacking yet more people. And it was nuts. It was so much damage. I killed MODOK, I think, in 1 turn.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. So yeah, it was very fun. In the second game I played with them, I tried to transition into criminals because what I really want is I want Venom and Carnage and like Lizard. And it's like 3 just very beefy, brawly characters. And so, like, you know, criminals lend themselves to that playstyle really well, but you can't fit them all in because none of them are fucking criminals.
Right.
And if just Lizard was a criminal, the list would work, and it's very annoying.
So it just didn't, like, what did you try? And it just went. Meh.
I think I cut Carnage. Oh no, I cut Venom. Yeah, I think I cut Venom. I can't remember what I did the second game. It was okay. I don't remember anything particularly great out of it. It was all right. But yeah, I found it was impossible to play the list I actually wanted to play. Yeah, I played criminals for sure. So I had Kingpin. Oh, I remember now. I played against Black Order. Jason was playing Black Order again. Fucking Kingpin got moved twice every turn of the game. It was so annoying.
Yeah.
Because the first turn, he double moved to the middle. Thanos went last, double moved to the middle as well. And then sent Kingpin to oblivion. So yeah, Kingpin was forever just double moving the entire game. It was very sad. Anyway. So that's why I've been playing recently, and Parker has played nothing recently, which is cool.
I have not played anything this last week. Although when I play again, it will be the new. I think I'm going to play Amazing Spider-Man next. Maybe.
Yeah, he was pretty fun.
Actually, that was my question. Did you get to actually like Amazing Spider-Man him? Did he get to bounce around and punch people?
He was way more clunky than I thought he would be. He did not feel as smooth as he looks. He was extremely power hungry the entire game. Which I think might have been just a result of my dice because I didn't really get any good attacks off till very late, which was probably the problem. But yeah, he was okay. I mean, he did not feel as amazing as everybody said he would be. So I definitely did not feel the Amazing Spider-Man. But it did feel like he was a powerful piece because he had a lot of rules. But a lot of the time he was just like, okay, well, I move and punch this guy because I don't have enough power to do anything else.
Yeah. Good to know.
Anyway, he is incredibly mobile, like we expected. All right, so moving on, hobby projects. I think myself and Parker are just about to the point where we're done assembling new stuff.
We can paint things.
Yeah, then we get to get back to painting. It's finally happened, and now there's about to be 18 boxes coming out next month. It's gonna be great.
You stay there. I need to paint something. I want to feel. I do feel accomplished. After the other day, I was like, man, I don't know when I'm ever going to get to paint something. But then I actually looked at the stack of gray. I was like, holy crap! I have actually assembled a lot of models. This is not horrible. I have been spending a lot of hours keeping up with this game, but man, I need more.
I bought a new Magna rack to hold all my stuff because I'm the person who always has to bring terrain. So I have 3 tables worth of terrain that I was trying to bring up to the store all at once. And then all of my freaking models, which is everything in the game basically, except for I haven't assembled Viper, Jean, Black Cat, Cassandra Nova, or Craven. Those 5 models I haven't put together yet. And so everything else is on my tray, which is like an entire fucking thing. And then also I have my card box and my token box and my like turn marker stuff. I have all of that all on one Magna rack. So it was getting overfilled. So what I did was I bought a second Magna rack. I put all the extra terrain on there, and then I resorted everything. So I have exactly 1 table's worth of terrain on my Magna rack, and all of my models, and then like all my amenities and stuff. And so I only have to bring like 1 thing in when I go to play now. And then the second Magna rack just has all of my roommate's models, and then like 3 tables of terrain on it. And so because my roommate has a motorcycle, so he puts his stuff in my car and then rides to the game store on his motorcycle, plays a game, and then puts it back in my car and drives home. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Anyway, so moving on to our next segment, we have From the Forums returning. There was some fun questions asked due to all of the new spoiler stuff. So the first one we're going to talk about, which we kind of hinted at earlier, Hulkbuster Leadership. Can it reduce damage to 0 combined with another ability to reduce damage? The answer is yes. As the active player, the active player will choose who resolves their effects first, and then within that, you will determine the order of your effects.
Mm-hmm.
And so whoever's doing the throw will choose if their abilities or your abilities go first, and then you will resolve them in whichever order you prefer.
Right now, I am so excited to play, like, the same list we were already planning to do for Captain Sam, and then just dropping Hulkbuster in there too, so that you can really quickly just like, I want to, here's like a Magneto, here's a bunch of throws, like you said, Asgardians. Well, now we're going to do, as a really great starter module, Hulkbuster, War Machine, Luke Cage, go. And then everything else to taste.
You know what this means now, right?
What does that mean then?
Crossbones and Hulkbuster are now the way to beat Magneto.
Yes. How can you
Crossbones
lose?
will never die.
That would be so awesome.
I have physical 4 and I reduce throw damage by 2, and you're like, fuck me, get out of here. What a doofus.
That would be so
and he's
delightful.
Just like banging his hands together. It's like, let's go! Like, get out of here! Like, no one cares about
just
you.
Shrapnel is just surrounding him, spinning in all directions. He gives no shits. That is awesome.
You only adapted the scrap metal.
Yeah, as soon as he pushes him back and he goes, no! And he just keeps walking forward. I took 1 damage and he keeps walking forward.
Get the fuck out of here. All right, next up. So we have Hypnosis Gas versus Toad. There's specifically an interaction where if Mysterio uses Hypnosis Gas on Toad and you deal damage, you get to advance them. And the cool thing is you can advance them into your range of tricks and traps.
Right.
Hold on. Wait, is this right? Now I need to check. I'm worried that this guy asked a dumb question. Mysterio. Is it range 4? It's not. Tricks and Traps is range 3.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't specify that did not start within 3. That's a War Machine rule I'm just applying to this card.
Yeah.
So the clarification is, if you use Hypnosis Gas to advance Toad and he's still within 3 at the end of the advance, it would then trigger Tricks and Traps. However, Toad can trigger Slippery as a result of Hypnosis Gas and advance away, at which point he would not be within range 3 to trigger Tricks and Traps. The question was, what triggers first? The answer is the Tricks and Traps will trigger before Slippery will, because in step 14A of the attack is which in effects that occur after damage are resolved, you immediately perform whatever that is. So you trigger the advance, which then triggers Tricks and Traps, and you don't resolve Slippery until after all of those effects are resolved. So if you were to get in this situation, Slippery or any other effect that triggers after damage is dealt, like Aggressive, would not happen until after the advance from Hypnosis Gas.
Mm.
That's a standard timing chart question. If you ever have a question like that, go to the rule book, read through the timing chart. It's almost always explained in there. Bob's but how, this is an important clarification. If an injured Bob with 1 health remaining activates and has bleed on him, does he get KO'd as a result of bleed? And the answer is yes, because in the timing results, you actually gain the activated token at the end of the activation, and then resolve effects that happen at the end of your activation, like healing factor and bleed. So he actually gains the token just before bleed triggers, so it would kill him. So either shake bleed or shoot the fucking rocket.
Yeah.
So, because the rocket will kill you before the bleeding does.
Nice.
For all those times you need to damage yourself before bleed happens. All right. So next up we have Iron-Bound Books of Shuma Gorath.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, there's some questions here.
Oh boy.
We have, I think it's 4 questions about the books. So first question, is the returning of the Iron-Bound Books of Shuma Gorath dependent upon first having been played and paid for by a convocation character during the power phase? If this card was instead discarded as an effect of another Team Tactics card, such as the Books of Cagliostro, would that player be able to return it to their roster when a character was KO'd? The answer is no, it is not dependent on being played first. Yes, you can still return it to your roster. And so you can pitch it to the books, to the Book of Cagliostro first thing, and then return it when someone gets KO'd and play it later. Next question. When you play this, does the character need to be KO'd this round to trigger the effect, or is it a permanent trigger that if anyone is KO'd, you gain the card back? The answer is no, there is no timing restraint, so anytime one of your Convocation characters KO'd, you get to return it. So it doesn't have to be that turn, because the benefit only lasts that turn, or that round, but the effect of being returned is forever.
Jesus. This is so... No, I get it.
Basically, it always works the way you want it to work.
Yeah.
And then finally, does the effect of this card include... Because it says specifically allied characters, does this include the character who played it? And obviously, yes, it does include the character that played it, because they are allied to themselves. So a lot of those were obvious. Some of them were a little bit more like specific. So basically, the books work the way the Convocation player would want them to work.
Yeah.
So read a book. That's how that works.
Yeah, this Convocation, I believe, is going to be one of those factions that you got to have that forum, the forum open at all times to be like, here, this is the way it works.
Are you ready for the next question?
Oh, geez. Go for it.
Interaction of Iron-Bound Books of Shuma Gorath and Doomed Prophecy.
Okay.
This is probably not going the way you would expect.
Oh, really?
The question is, if your opponent uses Doomed Prophecy, what happens? Because the Books of Shuma Gorath say change the attack type to Mystic, and Doomed Prophecy says add 2 dice to physical attacks. Do you add the 2 dice?
Oh, Jesus.
If the Mystic triggers? And the answer is no, because you don't actually add the additional dice till step 4 of attacking, and choosing targets is before step 4. And so you've already chosen your target, so you've already established it's being changed to Mystic before the add dice step, because you haven't created attack pool yet.
Wow.
So the Iron-Bound Books of Shuma Gorath actually completely invalidate Doom Prophecy.
Huh.
Except for the part where their character doesn't get to roll physical defense ever again.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that won't really matter since your characters are fucking unable to deal physical
I was going to say, it's still not a horrible card if it worked, but it doesn't.
Yeah, you might as well play it with everybody. Who cares?
Yeah.
Next question. This one actually really infuriated me. I don't think this is how this should work, but I guess it's specified in a chart somewhere. Enchanting versus Bodyguard. If Enchantress is targeted by an attack and you also have a Bodyguard within range 2, does the attacker have to pay 2 for it to not count as Mystic damage versus her ability to use her Mystic defense before you have to activate Bodyguard or after? And the answer is they have to choose before you choose to activate Bodyguard, which is dumb.
You have to... Oh.
So if you're attacking Enchantress and Enchantress has a Bodyguard, You have to say if you're going to spend the 2 power before they choose if they're going to bodyguard or not.
Oh, Jesus.
So if you spend the 2, they can bodyguard it, and you basically wasted 2 power for no fucking reason.
Right.
That's really stupid.
That's a weird way to just... That seems like a negative play experience also.
It seems very, like, counterintuitive and negative, yes.
Right.
It seems not fun.
Like, that doesn't benefit...
anyway.
Like, the way to say it is that doesn't benefit play. Like, it's not a good... That's not play. That's yeah.
I guess the reason is because the wording on bodyguard is when a character is targeted, and they're both when the character is targeted. I don't know. Now I want to check. What does Enchantress say? Enchantress with Enchanting says, when an enemy character targets this character with an attack, it may use its Mystic Defense regardless of the attack's type unless the attacker spends 2 power. So it's when an enemy character targets this character with an attack. That's the trigger. So Captain America says, just because he has bodyguard, when another allied character within 2 is targeted by an attack. I don't know, man. I feel like that could have gone either way, and I think they worded it. They ruled it the worst way possible. So I'm not a fan of that one. I understand the logic here because it's like your effect, so you would choose the order kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that seems bad.
Yeah.
Next up is Quick Draw and Coiled Serpent versus Shrapnel Blast. This is a line of sight / point of origin issue. So if Cyclops is attacked by Magneto and Magneto is out of range 2 of Cyclops, but the metal construct is within range 2 of Cyclops, can he use Quick Draw?
If the metal construct... Oh... Like, where's the point of origin?
If the metal construct is within range.
Right. Huh. I think you can, right? You can use Quick Draw because the metal construct is within range, and it's like the source of it? Am I crazy?
You can. So Quick Draw says if they are not within range 2, and because it specifically says the attacker, not the like point of origin of the attack. And this is basically the same ruling as the previous question of Martial Artist versus Shrapnel Blast. Effectively, you always measure to Magneto, even though the attack's coming from the metal construct. Because Magneto is the attacker, you just measure range for the attack, not range for like Martial Artist or anything else. So you only check range for the attack.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's cool. Next up, we have. Oh nope, that was the last one. All right, so those are the questions we answered today. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we have one more Daily Bugle question we're going to do. We did a bunch last week with our 50th episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. But we had one question that we actually forgot to answer because we were too drunk and or busy. The question is asked by Parker.
Yeah.
Is there a model you would be willing to throw away right now and never look back? If so, which one? So I think this is very obvious for most people, because even though like some characters are bad and you'll probably never play them again, I wouldn't want to throw the model away. Like Ebony Maw, I spent a lot of time painting my Ebony Maw, and he's part of my Black Order diorama, and I think he looks pretty awesome. Same thing with Hulk. Hulk, even though I didn't spend a huge amount of time painting Hulk, he's an iconic model. But there's not a question of a model I would throw away right now if there was any benefit other than, like, if you're like, I'll buy you a Coke if you throw that away, I would throw away Viper in a second.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not close. Like, Viper is completely worthless trash.
Wow. I'm actually a little surprised. Because she seems like...
Who did you think I was going to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to say... Well, I thought you were going to say Ebony Maw, but I forgot you'd made that cool diorama. I had forgotten that. But... I thought you were going to say Ebony Maw just out of like spite for the fact that he exists in the game, but
no,
it does make sense now that you said that you made that. I forgot you made that awesome Black Order thing. That's interesting. For me,
so is there someone? Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
I was going to say for me, that's what I made the question a 2-parter because I don't think I could ever throw away a character for the same reason that like when I used to play like MMOs, it didn't matter if I made a new character. And the old one was never going to be played again. I still kept it just in case one day I wanted to play a Dwarf Rogue again. I was never going to, but just in case. I had level 12 Dwarf Rogue over there that I could play. Like, for the same reason, like, I can't think of throwing away a model even though I could never imagine a situation that I will ever play Cassandra Nova. like I don't want to make it happen. Yet, if there was one model to throw away, it would be her. Actually, for me, it would be her because I take a moral stance against her being in this game. But I'm still not going to throw her away because one day there might be a situation where I can swallow it and I can play her.
Which model did you say?
Cassandra Nova.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You were there whenever we found out. You were there at the moment we found out Cassandra Nova was going to be in the game, and you saw the indignity wash over my face. But also, I don't like her model. Like I don't want to see her on the board. I don't think she's an old lady in a sweater. Doesn't make me excited.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about Cassandra Nova. I didn't know it was a female at all. I was just like, the name is feminine, but I could it's comics. Anything can happen, right? So I was like, Cassandra Nova, and like I immediately went back to, there's a spell in Warhammer Fantasy Battle that was called Comet of Cassandora, and so my thought immediately went to that, which was more of an arcane like sounding name, and I was just reading it because they showed a picture of it. I was like, Cassandora Nova, like that could be anything. And I looked at the model, I was like, is that Ben Kingsley? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was so lost. Like, how does Jean Grey come with this skinny bald guy?
Like a bald Betty White. And you're just like, why?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was very confused.
Yeah.
And then you explained that it was like
Xavier's twin sister.
A hypothetical Xavier's twin sister. I was like, man, deep cuts here, bro.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
Yeah, it was
very odd.
So that's actually a model that I would, if you told me right now, just like we have to get rid of something or the ship will sink, any one small thing, I'd be like blip, like right into the drink.
It's like mid sentence and fly over their shoulder. Like, what was that?
Yeah, that was a shitty model. I'm never gonna play. I don't.
When are you gonna play Viper?
I really like Sin. Maybe there's a world in which you put Viper in with Sin. Maybe. I know. We're both squinting really hard going, when does this happen, really?
Well, I don't
Probably
like it because she is...
But
like, no one cares about her. She's not at any point ever important to anyone else. So she's like in her own little world.
Yeah.
Because she's just such a nobody, and she has no relationships with anybody, and she's stupid. Like, in addition to that, she's a stupid character.
Yeah.
So I was like,
well,
you
mean stupid like from canon, or just like her rule set? Like what?
Yes.
Okay.
She's an assassin that uses poison. Let me introduce you to fucking cosmic like beatdown lady over here that shoots laser beams out of her hands.
Oh, by the way, by the way, for the record, Viper has more physical energy defense than Tony Stark out of his Hulkbuster armor. So I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. As somebody who's read a lot of comics and Viper's shown up in them, she's always just been a throwaway villain.
Like, okay.
Yeah, she's always been a throwaway villain. Craven, even though Craven is a gag villain, he is more interesting and compelling than Viper. I said this on when we originally saw Viper's model and we didn't know who it was. I was desperately crossing my fingers and my toes for Madame Mask, who is an absolutely awesome character, and it wasn't her. And I think, but I'm with you. Like, however, I love Sin. Maybe you can play her with Sin, but that's the only reason.
But like, there's no compelling reason to.
Right.
It's not like they synergize in any particular way. Right. Yeah, she's just a complete afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
You will never reach for her over another 3-point model.
No.
Because there will always be at least one 3-point model better than her.
Right. If you want to do what she is doing, you can just play Quicksilver, and I think you do it better in every way.
So what's the situation? You need an affiliated 3-point character that isn't a rogue agent because you already have a rogue agent?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the situation? Because there's no question Taskmaster's better. Mm-hmm. I think Bucky's better.
Let's just go ahead and say that in the faction, Zemo's better. Like,
sure, no, right. So we're talking about a situation where you've already used your other 3-point model somehow.
Oh, okay.
And you need an affiliated character, and it can't be a rogue agent for some reason.
Okay.
Like, that's the situation, right?
Right.
But there is no, because the faction's already full enough because she's only affiliated with Cabal.
Right.
And so looking at the Cabal characters, like, well, we've got Sin, Crossbones, Zemo, Taskmaster, Bucky, like how far down the list do you need to go before you get to somebody that would be not chosen over you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I guess if your roster was 10 3-point Cabal characters,
Yeah.
you're running a little thin there, guys. But
Yeah.
like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, fucking Mordo is now affiliated. Like, why the fuck would you ever reach for Viper?
Mm-hmm.
It's very dumb.
I'm here. I hear you.
Yeah, we're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. At the same time, I will keep Viper's model before I keep Cassandra Nova's model.
They're both pretty terrible models.
They're not fantastic. Viper is not like she doesn't climb into the list of top 40 characters. However, Cassandra Nova, I would here's the difference. If this is the difference. Going back to the analogy about the boat, the boat sinking, we got to get rid of a model. If you told me that Viper had already fallen overboard and it still wasn't enough to save the boat, I wouldn't have been like, oh, well, okay, I guess we got to do another one. And then I happily chuck Cassandra Nova like Goose's dog tags at the end of Top Gun. And I do that. And somebody
You're
later
like,
says,
oh, she might want company, and you just like throw her overboard
right.
just in case.
Yeah. And if you told me later, oh, gosh, Viper got destroyed in a fire, I'd be like, who? I guess, fine. I'm not.
Well, if the premise is the boat is sinking, we have to throw something overboard, and you reach for Cassandra Nova or Viper. It doesn't really matter because you throw the other one quickly after her to buy you another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, why did we only needed the one? It's like, just in case.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it. It's a package deal.
Better to be sure.
Yeah. Like, who's the one that decided we only need to throw one over? You're like, I don't trust this person. Look, throw another one.
Funnily enough, they're both Cabal members. Does that just mean that Cabal is stacked with some really good characters? By the way.
No, it means Cabal has a lot of bad characters.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because we've got Crossbones, Sin. I don't think Sin's great. She's okay. I guess I'll leave her off the list. So Crossbones, Cassandra Nova, and Viper are all in Cabal.
Yeah. Also, Ultron.
And those are like
Ultron
the three
now
characters
is also,
we're fucking talking about.
Ultron is also
Ultron's
really hard
bad,
to play.
but Ultron has a place.
Right.
Like, Ultron's place is I want a 4-point character that doesn't die.
Right.
Like, okay, I have a character for you.
Yeah. Also, Ultron is Ultron, which gives him a little bit of clout because he's awesome bad guy. Like, he's a great bad guy.
And yeah, like, you can look at his cards. Isn't he like 4 physical defense? Like, Ultron has like selling points. He's not great.
Right.
Like, but like, do you remember when I played against Jeremy with Ultron?
Yeah.
And I fucking crushed him, and he was so mad. He's like, fucking Ultron. I was like, no, but I explained to him what was going to happen. I was like, Ultron's going to move to the middle of the point because we're playing Gamma Wave, and he's going to win the game because you can't get rid of Ultron. Yeah. And that's literally what happened, and he got very upset.
Yeah.
He was like, this is bullshit, because I had like Enchantress and Red Skull and who else did I play? I think I had Crossbones in there. It's just a bunch of random shit, basically. I think I might have had MODOK. Yeah, I think I had MODOK, not Crossbones. And so it was a fairly elite list. But it was like between MODOK and Enchantress and Ultron, he couldn't keep models on the points, but I didn't have to put MODOK forward because Ultron's just standing on the point like, I'll be here till the end of time because you will never get rid of me. Yeah. And I just had to clear the point every turn, and it worked fine. And yeah, he couldn't kill me. And Ultron's surprisingly tanky, even though he comes back to life because he's got what? Yeah, he's got 11 hit points, 4 physical defense.
And 4 mystic defense. Curious,
and 4 mystic.
Curious a little bit, when Convocation comes out, All Will Be Metal will finally be something that might happen every once in a while.
Yeah. It's not as good as Energy Absorption, but it's almost as good. The 2 successes is... It's worse because instead of 2 blocks, you can't change a die. So they still get to trigger wild effects and stuff like that, and you don't gain power for it. But it's still 4 mystic dice. Mm-hmm. He might become more valuable once those guys come out.
Yeah.
Also, he has potentially 7 dice attack that can be chosen to be mystic. Unfortunately, his strike attack is intentional garbage.
Yeah. I think it's...
But, he throws stuff. He can beat up on some Convocation characters.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah, Ultron's obviously not, like, winning any awards or anything, but he's not completely unplayable.
No. And also, he's Ultron, which is something up on Cassandra Nova and Viper.
Selling point, people know who he is.
Yeah. There was a whole movie, made billions of dollars across the world, and in that movie, Ultron was in the title.
Yeah, but, like, even before Ultron, Age of Ultron came out, millions of people knew who Ultron was. Like,
Right.
he's been a main Avengers like plot point for decades.
He's always like, no pun intended again, but he was always like one of the end game villains. Like in the short list of things that will end the Marvel universe, it's like Thanos, Loki, Ultron, like these couple of characters that will be there at the end of times.
Mm-hmm. All right. So last thing, why don't you go ahead and do your comic corner, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
All right. So I got a comic corner that's thematic for Iron Man. I got a really good Iron Man one. It is an Invincible Iron Man title, but it actually mentions the 10 rings. Now, I have not seen Shang-Chi yet, so I actually do not know how it's interpreted in the Marvel Universe, but in the MCU. But in the Marvel Comics universe, the 10 rings refers to the 10 rings, wielded by the Mandarin, which is the Invincible Iron Man's one of his primary bad guys. And one of the things about the Mandarin over the course of comic book history is he started off as this really goofy villain that was also very stereotypically Asian in a time where communist China was a boogeyman, and so they purposely made him very scary. Very stereotypical of that kind of character at the time. But the new Invincible Iron Man run that was written by Matt Fraction, and Salvador Larroca was the artist of it, did a really good job of reinventing like what a modern tete-a-tete between the Mandarin and Iron Man would look like. Because basically, over the course of this series, how would you go after Iron Man, really? If you really wanted to destroy his life like the Mandarin wants to just Machiavellian destroy it, well, you wouldn't like go try to fist fight him because he's an Avenger, right? Like that, he always wins that fight. So you would go after the thing that makes him strong, which is like his company, his intellectual property, his ability to manage everything. You would try to do everything you could to hamstring him and, debase him, humble him, rid him of all of his friends until eventually he had no choice but to do exactly what you wanted him to. And that's over the course of this Invincible Iron Man run by Matt Fraction. That's what happens. The Mandarin slowly but surely manipulates Tony's life and drops him down so low that he feels like he can't do anything else. And eventually he just kind of gives up, or else he appears to. The one I wanted to focus on was the very last volume 11, called The Future. And in this one, he finally has a showdown with the Mandarin in this awesome, awesome story in which the Mandarin finally has him captured and tells Tony that he has to build him these incredibly destructive war machines, like end-of-time war machines, that he has a very special purpose for. He doesn't tell Tony exactly what it is, but Tony figures it out. And then, of course, being Tony Stark, you never keep Tony Stark prisoner. That's how the very first story started, right? And so he finds a way to foil the Mandarin's plans, and it's pretty epic. So if you love Iron Man and you're interested to find out who the Mandarin is and what he is in the current Marvel universe, he is sadistic and insanely sinister and dark. He's a scary dude. He's one of the scariest villains in the Marvel universe. And what he does to Tony and then what Tony does in return, it's great. So if you never read Matt Fraction's Invincible Iron Man run, it's awesome. And the final volume 11, called The Future, is great. It features Iron Man versus Mandarin and a really cool modern take.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think I still prefer the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, but everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Ben Kingsley. Actually, the worst part of that, upon your instruction, I rewatched that movie. It's not nearly as bad as I remembered it. I was just ticked off.
Iron Man 3?
Yeah, it's not as bad as I saw it. The first time I saw it, I immediately got super mad because I thought I was like, Lethal Weapon 5. Why am I watching Lethal Weapon 5? I thought this is Iron Man 3. And so
it's only like 20 minutes of Lethal Weapon 5.
Yeah, I know, but that turned me off so hard. And then I watched it again, and I actually liked a lot of it. I actually thought it was a lot more of an Iron Man story than I originally gave it credit for. There's only one scene that I thought was just really like it was a Christmas ham worth of ham-handedness, just a whole goddamn Christmas ham. It's when Killian, and I can't remember the actor who played him, Killian the
Guy
extreme.
Pearce.
Yeah, Guy Pearce. When Guy Pearce's character has is battered and broken, and he stumbles out of the wreckage that Tony's just dropped on him.
I know what you're talking
about. And he just yells at Tony for no reason. Never asks. He goes, "You asked who the Mandarin is?" He goes, and I go, "Did he? Did Tony ask who the Mandarin is?" And he goes, "I am the Mandarin." And he just like screams at the audience and Tony. And I went, "Why? What are you doing? This is really weird." If even for like a supervillain who says dramatic stuff in very weird moments a lot, like non-realistically, this is weird and odd and off-putting. It's as if it's just whoever was writing the script went like somebody in a writer meeting going like, "But then why do we even include the Mandarin in this movie? Why do we even do it?" He goes, "Because he's the Mandarin." And they go, "But he's not the Mandarin. He's obviously Molten Man. We even used Molten Man's name for the character. It's Molten Man." And they're like, "But no, he's the Mandarin." He goes, "But he's not the Mandarin. Ben Kingsley was the Mandarin, and we figured that out early in the movie." He's
don't remember.
"No, he is."
I thought you were talking about a different scene. I don't remember this part. I'm not saying it didn't happen. It's just it was not memorable enough to me to recall.
Oh. There's this.
I thought you were talking about the very spoilers for Iron Man 3, by the way. The very last scene where Pepper Potts kills Killian, and then they call her a hot mess. Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No.
That was the ham-handedness right there.
No, I was talking about the moment right before Pepper is revealed to be enhanced and smashes him with the pole. He yells, "You asked who the Mandarin is?" And we're like, "No, we didn't. He never did. We all knew who he was. What are you talking about?" And he goes,
he was trying to figure out who the Mandarin was earlier in the movie, but yeah, it was not relevant. That was a really bad line. I'm agreeing with you, but I don't think it was that handed. Like, yeah, I want to murder people for no reason because I'm businessman boy. Like, that made no sense. Like, his motivations were fucked. Like, the guy clearly had mental issues.
Yeah. It was, I would actually have been, there were lots of things about the movie that I thought could be improved, but one of them was.
Clearly nobody liked the Trevor, like, Sclary or whatever the fuck the guy's name was, Mandarin. Yeah. Like, nobody liked that. But I think part of the reason, his name is Trevor. Yeah. Hi, I'm Trevor. I'm an actor. Anyway, I think I'm going to watch the Hail to the King short on Disney Plus, which is Ben Kingsley doing the Mandarin in prison. So because there were some people talking about like maybe he was like just acting along the whole time, but yeah, there was a lot of fan theories that were trying to fix the movie,
right?
But yeah, I get that like people didn't like it, but I think people were also off put because they wanted like Iron Man 1 again or Avengers 3.
Yeah,
like they didn't want like a complicated like exposition movie. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like complicated, but they didn't want more storytelling. They wanted more Iron Man, and you did not get more Iron Man in that movie.
No,
and so I understand why people were disappointed, but I don't think the movie was as bad as people say it was.
No, I will give you that. It is not as bad. And actually, to the point of more Iron Man, the final sequence is not short. Like when he gets all of his different when Jarvis runs all the different marks, all around, and they're fighting all the different extreme enhance all over the tanker rig. Like that was cool. There were a lot of Iron Man like moments in there, but Tony in the suit, boop boom, boop boom. Like we had to wait for Endgame to actually see that again. But man, it was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah, the bleeding edge armor was pretty sick. Yeah. I think also like. Way more so than Iron Man 3. I think people misremember Avengers 2 Age of Ultron a lot. Avengers 2 Age of Ultron was an awesome movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why it gets so much hate. I just don't understand.
That is one for the ages. I don't understand who.
Yeah, it's just like people did not watch it. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's like, when did you watch this movie?
Yeah.
And I guess, David Jones, I was talking about specifically, and he's like, the second Captain America said language, he checked out. Like, and he hated the movie. I'm like, what?
The second?
Yeah,
what?
It's obvious, like, comic relief in an action scene. And they didn't really do that super hard in the other movies. Like the biggest probably moment like that in Avengers 1 was when Hulk punches Thor after they tackle the big slug thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like the only really one that was like takes you out of the action for a moment.
Right.
But then they kind of like turned into the Skid later in the Ragnarok movies, where it's like everything's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was ready for it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I told him, like, go back and rewatch it, because trust me, that movie is good. It is probably the best Avengers movie. Of the original two, it's better than one.
I know people don't like the language thing, but that opening scene was awesome. Like, it was very much like Avengers doing Avengers business. Like, that was great. I liked everything about that.
Yeah, no, it was great. I would have watched a 3-hour movie of that.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been fine. I think Endgame is clearly the best movie in the franchise, although it's kind of hard to tell how much of it is, like, carryover from the previous movies. But I actually wasn't a huge fan of Infinity War. It felt a lot like the newer Star Wars movies, where it's like the pacing just felt off, and like it felt like it was on rails the whole time. I didn't think like anything that happened really mattered. And I was like, it just felt... It felt like we were sitting at a table doing a table read, and I wasn't actually watching a movie. It's like someone was just explaining the script to me, and I was like, okay.
That's interesting.
Like, what happens next, Bill? And it's like, this happens next. And I was like, okay. Like, I just don't... Like, it's not interesting.
Right.
Like, at no point was it convincing that everyone was going to die. At no point did I ever feel like anything that happened in this movie was relevant.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I think it's a totally valid take if you felt like, okay, they're going to have to do a whole bunch of things in this movie, so I'll just watch them do a whole bunch of things one after the other. Kind of like, this is going to line up.
I think it was just that the entire movie was set up, and that's what I didn't like about it. Which is why I'm not, I guess, a huge fan of Empire Strikes Back. Like, the entire movie is set up for the third movie.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, like, it just kind of, like, unclimactically ends at some point. I'm just like, okay, like, whatever. As we're Endgame, like, I walked out of Infinity War going, I think this is the least, like, engaged I've ever been in a Marvel movie. Like, even Iron Man 3, I was more engaged in the movie than Infinity War. And I think Infinity War is a better movie than Iron Man 3, but, like, it just wasn't engaging to me. It was just, like, the movie of cameos, is what it felt like. And so I was worried that Endgame was going to be similar, because, you know, we've had this decade-long build-up to Endgame. I was like, man, I really hope that doesn't happen again. And I was, like, edge of my seat the entire movie.
Yeah.
And Endgame was so gripping, because it felt like they took the time to really have those character interactions mean something other than say this to the camera, moving on, say this to the camera, moving, and it's just like cutting. Like, it never really mattered. I don't know.
It also helped that they knew they wanted to finish some characters' stories, and so it was very clear that they were being very strategic about ending those characters' stories in a meaningful way, and that everybody earned. Like, everybody earned an ending to their story, or rather, the characters that we knew were going to earned that ending. And I think that was something that can't be understated. You want to watch like a masterclass movie of trying to take a whole, a huge pantheon of characters and give them an ending that validates everyone. Watch that movie. If you want to see a movie that does the opposite, watch the Star Wars 9. You'll see the opposite of that, which is something that doesn't validate anyone and makes you feel like, okay, so when's the next movie coming out so I can actually feel validation about the end of this. I guess I kind of take it back. Infinity War, the only part that I really, really liked was Drax talking to Tony Stark. Every scene that has Drax and Tony Stark in it was fucking amazing. Just like when he's pointing the gun at his face, he goes, "Quill, do it! Like, I can take it." No, you can't.
I can take it. He's like, "You can't take it." He's like, "He's right, you can't."
Take it. I can take it.
It's like, excuse me, what are you doing here? He's like, we're kicking name and taking ass. He's like, that's right. And Tony is just so dumbfounded.
Yeah.
He just pans to Quill and he's like, are you fucking serious? Like, is this real life? Like, I flew halfway across the fucking universe to fight a fucking space god, and this guy can't be bothered to listen to the fucking plan? What is happening? Like, he's just yawning mid-sentence. Like, what are you doing?
Absolutely delightful. So
perfect. Oh, man. Yeah, if it was just an hour of that, I would take that over the entire Infinity War movie. You know what? I would pay serious money to watch a TV show that's just Drax and Tony Stark, like, having fun in space.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. Like, I really liked Nebula being stuck on the ship with Tony. Like, that was obviously a great story arc.
Yeah.
But if it was Drax instead, Like, oh my god, the potential. I hope there's a what if Drax was on the ship with Tony instead of Nebula. Like, Nebula got snapped out, but Drax was still there. It's like, oh my god, the 3 months on a ship, he would fucking kill himself. Yeah. There's no way he would make it through. Drax is like, why are you bleeding? Like, god damn it, leave me alone. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Are you ready, Parker?
Yep.
All right, well, this has been Brandon.
And Dr. Mantis Toboggan. MD, yeah.
Hashtag trademark.
Yep.
And thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you had a good time. You have just listened to News Team Assemble.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Parker, I have a question for you.
What's up?
What do you say to the guy who invented Zero?
I don't know. What do you say to the guy?
Thanks for nothing. Got it. Fucking got it.
You did. You got me. I was not expecting that exactly. I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. That was
nice. Good. Real nice.
Strong to quite strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, it's been a bit of a day, even though nothing really happened.
Oh man, this weekend has wiped me out. I'm really excited to do this because of all the news. This news has been so awesome. I'm really excited to talk about it. But I am with you. I am bushed. I'm going to try to keep my energy level up and my excitement level up, my hype level up. But I can feel my voice going and my energy is.
That's why I told you a joke. I wanted to get you all excited.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those just I want to stare at a screen right now, but I'm going to get hyped. I'm getting pumped.
Nice.
Excuse me.
I might go see some movies tomorrow. I've been wanting to see Shang-Chi and Free Guy, but I keep not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And today was the first day I haven't been so tired. I was actually kind of responsible, and I went and bought groceries for the first time in 3 months.
Nice.
Yep.
So you feel like you earned it?
Not really. I mean, it was just a normal day. But yeah, I think I'm finally past the point where it's I'm just going to be overwhelmed by stuff. I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna relax and do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that I'm not scheduling a bunch of shit on my weekends anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not always doing stuff. And the introvert in me is no longer I need to recharge my batteries every day. I actually feel like I can do stuff.
Nice.
I shaved.
Ooh, look at you. But you shave often, right? I don't remember you.
No, I don't shave very often.
Oh, really?
I trim. I trim it down from it's starting to grow as a full face beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't actually, cut my hair that much.
I haven't used a razor on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, in
years.
Yeah, I think it's over a decade.
Wait, so your hair just grows in all white trashy like that?
Yeah. You're telling me that your white trash genes are so permanently ingrained that you just get these oh yeah, that's just, well, I mean, this is a wig. Permanently, because I was born with no scalp. Oh, Joe Dirt.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, that scene where he's in Louisiana and he walks up. No, home away you make it. And you want to see homos naked? No, boy, homo's where you make it. Oh,
all right,
okay.
You go see homos naked. It's fine.
Goddamn, boy, everybody know that. That scene, my dad and I, we were crying,
just crying,
because there is a person in Louisiana who exactly talks like that. That is how he would have answered the question. Do you know who lives here? That guy exists. It's not every guy, but he definitely exists. Oh man, we were weeping. That guy's played that character in 2 movies, Waterboy and that little cameo there, and I don't think I've ever seen him do anything else. But
yeah, who knows?
By the way, Cajun people fucking hate that movie, The Waterboy.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
The Waterboy, they just hate it.
It's just like actual NASCAR fans hate Talladega Nights, but that
Right.
just shows how that they are the people from Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
So
You ever drive with a live cougar in the car?
I like to picture them as like the people that think it's okay to sell your grace rights to a sponsor, so you have to bring up Powerade at every grace. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Joe Dirt is just like a golden cult classic.
Yeah.
So good. So much stupid shit in that movie.
Oh my god, it's wonderful. This here is big piece of airplane dookie.
Yeah.
Like Meteor, like the fact that he calls it Meteor for like, dude, you ate off that thing. It's like the people in the movie pointing
or like
out.
he tries to hold up the bank with the old nuclear warhead, and it turns out to be like a Winnebago porta potty. Like the guy like breaks the top off and just like dookies on his head.
I think if I saw that again, I think it would hold up to scrutiny. I don't think I would be disappointed.
It does. I've rewatched it several
yeah?
times.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
The second one's actually pretty good too.
Oh God, there's a second one?
You never saw the sequel?
No, I didn't even know there was one.
There's they jump the shark a little bit because they do time travel, but you know, it's fine. You gotta see
delightful.
It's
that's
so
delightful.
much more explainable than that. But it's like a combination of Back to the Future and like Christmas Story set in a trailer park. Like it's very weird.
I love that. I don't know if I want to ruin my opinion of Joe Dirt by watching a sequel, but
I'm telling you, I liked it.
Okay. It's kind of like Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo was the same thing for me. I loved that movie until I saw the sequel, and it made me mad about like it made me mad.
Ruined it.
Yeah, because the first one was so great. I loved Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo so much. Deucey,
give me $10.
Yeah, Deucey, you would do things that would sicken the average man because he thinks he's having sex with all these women that are just terrible. He's not. He just. And then when he goes to the courtroom, he goes, "So did you have sex with anyone your entire time as a male friend?" No. He just made them feel special. So, such a great movie. Everything about that movie is just. But again, like totally ruined by the sequel.
You're popping again.
Okay, let me see if I can get this up. Do I sound like raspy? Do I sound like is my voice?
You sound hoarse, yeah.
I had volleyball practice today. I went ham. Not on the kid. We were trying to get him psyched and pumped up and went too far, yelled too much. And afterwards I immediately was like, God damn it. I'm podcasting. Why did I do that? But
ASMR podcast.
Yeah, it's very much this is gonna be Scratchy Parker does podcast. Is it still poppy? Does it feel better?
No, it seems better.
Okay, good.
Just blow and we'll be able to tell. Yeah, it's probably fine.
Did you watch before we get started? Did you watch? Oh gosh, it's 10:30. We should probably get started. But did you watch the What If, the latest What If from?
No, Wednesday? I've only seen the first 4.
Okay.
I don't even know what day it comes out. So
it's always Wednesday. They're always Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So far, all of them have been Wednesday. All the Marvel shows have been Wednesday.
Okay.
So, no spoilers.
All right, well, I'm ready to get started if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Do you have a comic corner, or is this an old one?
No, this is we haven't done that one, and I did it for Hulkbuster, so. And Shang-Chi, actually. It's crossover.
False.
Bears. Beats.
There is no Shang-Chi.
Yeah. News team assemble.
Ron, we've literally been here the whole time.
Yeah. Also, my favorite scene of that movie has got. Sorry, was that Anchorman 2? We've literally been here the whole time.
That was one.
Okay, in Anchorman 2, whenever they do the second battle royale.
Yeah.
And so my favorite part is when all of them finally get done, and he goes, "Man, there is a lot of news." Like that's Paul Rudd's response to there being so many people ready to fight them. Man,
I need to watch Anchorman again. I haven't watched that movie in probably 10 years, and I can still quote like 90% of it.
Oh yeah, it's.
I need to watch Anchorman 2 again. I don't think I liked it that much the first time, but I had such a high opinion of the first one, it was almost guaranteed I wasn't going to like it.
Some of the
there's a lot of scenes I'm like remembering over time, and man, they're good scenes.
For some reason, and this is a really like obvious joke, but Brick's funeral, I loved Brick's funeral in Anchorman 2 because whenever he showed the best part about it is as soon as somebody goes, and now we're going to have people stand up and give the eulogy, and Brick stands up and walks up to the podium for his own funeral. And then the best part is the people there are like dumbfounded, except for the news team. The news team goes, "Ah, Brick." like, come on, man. Like their responses are as if he spilled a drink on somebody's pants. Yeah. Like it's not.
Well, it's probably because this has happened before.
You're right. It's totally just like, come on, man. You're not. And he goes, "Brick, you're not dead." He's like starts to talk about himself as being dead. He goes, "Brick, you're not dead." He goes, "I'm not." He goes, "You're not dead, Brick. Brick, you're not dead. Brick, you're not." And he's like, "Oh." Like for some reason, that scene where they're all just plaintively trying to explain to Brick that he's not dead at his funeral, I just thought that was wonderful.
The three scenes I really remember are when they go to see him in the lighthouse when he's blind. And he's like trying to serve them caulk and checkers as snacks. And like, "Brick, don't eat that. That's not food." Like, Brick's like eating checkers. And then there's the scene very early on when he assembles the news team and they're in the Winnebago, and he's like walks back there to talk to him, and it's like, "Ron, who's driving the Winnebago?" He's like, "Oh no, it's on cruise control." He's like, it doesn't steer, it just maintains speed. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And then it veers off the road and it starts rolling, and there's like they have a fucking like fry cooker going and it spills all over them. It's just like they're in this death roll in slow motion. But I think one of my favorite scenes I can remember is when he goes to meet Champ, and he's opened up a chicken restaurant. The chicken's actually bats. He's like, "I have a secret to making money with chicken." He's like, "What's that?" "Bats." He's like, what do you mean bats?" He's like, "It's bats." "What's bats?" "The chicken." And then the bat flies out of the kitchen. He's like, "Jesus Christ!" Like it's like chicken is really expensive. Like, bats are like the chicken of the air. Like, holy shit!
The chicken of the air. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I need to rewatch that movie.
I think that movie actually, for some reason, sometimes comedies that strike gold can't do it again for some reason. Mm-hmm. Like they tap out what was funny. I think Dumb and Dumber 2, I guess Dumb and Dumber 3, right? Because Dumb and Dumber 2 was a prequel. But like Dumb and Dumber 3 was an example of a movie that like for some reason, even as wonderful as that first movie was, it kind of tapped it. Like it tapped what it was. The well was dry. I didn't feel like I got anything else out of it.
I think part of it is that they... Like, you catch that lightning in the bottle a little bit, and it's like, the reason it was funny was because it wasn't done, like, enough. Like, it was, like, a new era, or, like Hangover, for example. Like, the, like, remembering your... It's like, Dude, Where's My Car? But, like, not shitty.
Right.
And so, it gets... But it's... They take themselves too seriously, usually, in the sequels, I think, is the problem. Like, they lose track of what was good about it, which is that it was so lighthearted and silly. Mm-hmm. And then they try and, like, structure everything, and it's not the same.
For some reason, though, Anchorman did not do that. I feel like Anchorman 2 did not
Anchorman 2, almost the entire movie was ad-libbed.
Yes.
Like, they had scene plans, but it was like, just say shit. And they that's why there was like 2 cuts where they're completely different dialogue. They just took the two best cuts of the 30 takes they had.
When they get to Ron's house and he's like wallowing in self-pity after his breakup, and he's trying to describe how he has been masturbating, he's just like, "I just was in a frothy pool of ejaculate." And Paul Rudd can't do it. Every time he says frothy pool of ejaculate, he can't do it. And he goes, "Now I feel Like, I understand what the villagers in Pompeii felt like. Paul Rudd just can't. He just like, just the thought
He just
of
fucking
Ron,
can't do it.
of Ron just ejaculating like a volcano. Just
He's like, he has to put in earplugs just to sit there and look like a person.
Paul, like he can't handle being in the same space as Will Ferrell, just talking about what he was doing. Oh.
It's like that scene from Eastbound and Down where they're talking about
plums. The plums.
It's like, I got this deep down in my plums. There's also the scene, my favorite like outtake where they just couldn't do it was from The Office. When Jim and Pam go over to Jan and Michael's place for the first time for a dinner party, and he's showing him his plasma TV, and it's like a fucking 9-inch screen bolts into the wall. And he's like, "So check this out. If I have people over," and he reaches up and he pushes the TV back 2 inches. fucking John Krasinski loses his fucking mind every time he does it, and he like falls down laughing. He's like, I can't do it. We're gonna have to shoot the scene tomorrow. Like, they had to do like 20 takes of Michael turning around and pushing the TV mount back 2 inches. Like, every time he did it, the dude fucking lost his shit.
Oh, that's awesome. I have
because and when you watch that scene, it's fucking hysterical, but he's not doing anything. It's just like he's so excited for this piece of shit plasma TV that's like the size of a fucking phone. Like, it's so tiny.
I have not seen this outtake. I'm gonna watch it now. Did you ever see the This Is 40 outtake?
No.
Okay, there's one with Melissa McCarthy, and it's actually another Paul Rudd. So Paul Rudd is in the room with Melissa McCarthy, and I can't remember who his other co-star was, but they're meeting with the principal about something that in a altercation they had with their kids, and Melissa McCarthy goes off with the principal, and so this is Melissa. They told Melissa McCarthy, get really, really angry like a soccer mom would get really, really angry in defense of her kids, and just go. And so she goes in there and she goes, I can't fucking stand it. I can't fucking stand being here. And she goes, we don't need that language here. She goes, Jill, I can't fucking stand you either. I hate you. Everybody wishes you were dead. Everyone. That's why your husband died, Jill. He died because he hated you so much he couldn't stand to look at you. Jill, if I was married to you, I'd kill myself, Jill. It's like, I can't fucking stand you. and while she's just laying this so flat and thick over this room, Paul Rudd is just weeping tears. It's Melissa McCarthy just being so horribly mean to this woman playing the principal. If you This Is 40 outtakes, Melissa McCarthy going crazy in this room.
I sent you the link in the podcast chat.
Oh, you did? Okay, I found it here, but it's not a really good version.
It's terrible quality, the one I found.
Oh, okay.
You'll understand the scene. Like, the video quality doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm watching it. He just instantly loses his shit.
It's so stupid. He's just moving the TV mount, but none of them can handle it. Because it's just like him and Will Ferrell. Like, they've bought you in so deep to this scene that at this point, anything will set you off.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We have plenty of stuff here.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I put in News Team Assemble because I couldn't think of anything else we talked about throughout the episode. Mm-hmm. And then because I said New Teams Assemble, it took us into the Anchorman tangent. And so it was like the Inception version of the podcast name. It was great.
That's good.